Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. All people. My race is the 18-winged fallen angel. Chapter 31. Time flies. The time has reached the last hour when the reserve disappears. During this hour, countless reincarnated people stayed up all night. Some people worry that once the protected area disappears, the vicious monsters outside will tear themselves to pieces in an instant. Some people are thinking about whether there will be any new announcements after the protected area disappears. The passage of every second made all the reincarnated feel a little nervous. In the Wanji channel, the news is boiling, and the frequency of sending out messages far exceeds that of the first day of reincarnation. It's over, I only have 1 hour left in my life. Crying.jpg, Western France continent. Brother upstairs, don't be so pessimistic. Although you are in the abyss, as long as you work hard, you still have a chance. As far as I know, there are several reincarnated races and talents that are ordinary in the tens of thousands of rankings. As there a big brother in the dragon continent to help me, I can warm the bed and be proficient in everything. Personal photo screenshot.jpg, Great Dragon Continent. Those long legs are so eye-catching. Not bad. Wow. It's a pity that I'm not in the dragon continent. Magic continent. Who is worse than me? The level is still hovering at the second level from the beginning to now. Fatty's continent. You are much better than me. I am still at the first level until now. Until now, I have only relied on continuous rebirth, and killed a pig-headed man, but nothing exploded. I am ready to die. Abyss. Watching all kinds of emotions flying across the channel. Luo Shang's eyes were extraordinarily calm. He looked at the protection zone barrier not far away like a sky queen. Within this last day, his level has been raised again, reaching level 15. And he raised all his advanced skills to the advanced 6th level. And arms. He summoned 40 more. Among them are 20 fallen demons, 10 eternal fallen knights and 10 necromancers. Counting it all together now, he now has a total of 70 arms. This background, even in the face of the previous Biza Yulong, he is definitely not in vain. Now everything is ready, just waiting for the disappearance of the protected area. Then wait slowly for the last hour to end. Luo Shang rested his chin on his left hand and sat on the throne. The magic eyes like gorgeous jewels carry a hint of evil smile. As soon as the protected area disappears, the rewards for the leaderboard should also start to be sent. I don't know what the reward for the first place will be. After these 5 days, the people on the leaderboard have changed drastically from the leaderboard when the announcement first came out. Even in the top 10, several of them were surpassed by latecomers. The only one that has not moved, only the top 5. Luo Shang glanced at the kill count of the second, Conquer. 323. Shaking his head, he smiled lightly and said, the speed is not enough. His current number of kills, he roughly calculated, should be around 3,000. It is 10 times as much as the latter. At the same time, Fattest continent. Conquer sets foot in a bloody land littered with corpses. He opened the leaderboard and looked at his kill count first. Looking at the number 1 saint again, that 1,000 plus terrifying kill count. Inevitably, a sense of powerlessness arises in the heart. The main reason for this is that this number was a few days ago. The real number of this saint today may have reached 2,000. Even higher. However, this also made Conquer even more determined about his next plan. Soon, under the eyes of countless reincarnators, the last hour passed slowly. Abyss. Luo Shang walked out of the Fort of Eternity. He stands high in the sky. His sharp eyes fell directly on the barrier of the protection zone not far away. The barrier is becoming transparent a little bit. A red exclamation point popped up in front of him. Turn it on. The interface of Wanji channel appeared, and 2 brightly colored banner announcements popped up. Announcement. The 12-day protection period has expired, and the protection has officially disappeared. From now on, all reincarnations will no longer be protected by the rebirth function and enchantment barrier. Please pay attention to your own safety. Luo Shang's eyes slanted slightly. Look at the second Wanji announcement. Announcement from Wanji 2. The killer event is officially over, the leaderboard will no longer be counted, and the system will start counting the rankings. Luo Shang just read the announcement. Another interface popped up in front of my eyes. Congratulations on ranking first in this ranking, rewards will be distributed now. Just as Luo Shang was thinking about what the reward would be, it is detected that the current environment is suitable for using talent, and is using supreme favor. Hearing this voice, Luo Shang's complexion changed slightly. I didn't expect the supreme favor to be used here. After the use of supreme favor, another voice suddenly sounded. Congratulations on obtaining a special and unique item, immortal abyssal armor. Your rewards have been sent to the space backpack. Special uniqueness. Luo Shang's eyes lit up when he noticed these words. He quickly opened the attribute interface of this item. Immortal Abyss Armor. Level. Special. Introduction. The treasure born from the origin of the Abyss is the 3 supreme artifacts of the Abyss. It is the dream of countless Abyss powerhouses. Effect. Infinite growth. As the wearer's level continues to increase, the power of the immortal abyssal armor will also continue to increase. King of Hell. After wearing this armor, the enemy will be suppressed by 10% regardless of their level and bloodline. Indestructible demon body. Unless it is absolutely fatal damage, the magic armor can repair the damage in the body. Note: the more serious the injury, the longer the recovery time. Luo Shang observed carefully. For this special level item, I can only marvel in my heart. This supreme talent is really amazing. It's really unexpected that even the supreme artifact of the Abyss can be extracted. With excitement, Luo Shang immediately took out the immortal Abyss armor from space. Mental strength moved a little. Luo Shang felt a warm current flowing on the surface of his limbs. He couldn't help but close his eyes. When Luo Shang opened it again, his luxurious Western-style long suit has turned into a dark shadow armor. The armor covers the whole body except the head. This piece of immortal abyssal armor is formed like strands of shadows intertwined together. Gorgeous and mysterious, it seemed that any matter that fell on this dark surface would be swallowed up. Try your strength first. After Luo Shang muttered, he thought about it. 2 pairs of fallen angel wings spread out behind. Cooperating with this immortal Yuan armor, Luo Shang at this moment is like the king of eternal night, full of aura. His whole body swept away, like a comet passing by. Take a few breaths. People have reached a height of hundreds of meters. He looked down at the 4 fields. Under the blessing of this immortal armor, all aspects of his body have obviously improved greatly. The immortal abyssal armor is only the lowest level now, and it has 8 passive skills. I don't know how far this fallen armor will reach the highest level. Luo Shang raised his right arm lightly. The immortal abyss armor that covered the surface flowed gently, like a stream of water, and the shadow seemed to be full of vitality. Gather together in the palm of your hand. The countless strands of the darkest power from the immortal abyss armor condensed into an immortal sword with a sharp edge. The body of the sword is black and colorless, and the surface is dull, like a black hole. The capital of 10,000 lights will be swallowed up. The special abyss power on this immortal abyss armor can be mobilized according to my will and transformed into any kind of weapon. As Luo spoke, his thoughts moved slightly. The shape of the sword body collapsed, flowing like sludge, and once again condensed into a sword several meters long. It satisfies the aspect that I can't find a weapon at hand. He smiled slightly. Although the Sword of Desire can also be used as a weapon, but the strength of the Sword of Desire is still much weaker in his opinion. Because the Sword of Desire is only an advanced skill no matter what. At the very top, it is impossible to advance to the 9th advanced level. And the current immortal armor is able to become stronger with the continuous improvement of its own level. The same reason, as the strength of the immortal abyss armor improves, all its passive and active skills will also be correspondingly increased. Every time he upgrades to a level, the weapons he condenses and manufactures become stronger. Except, the most important thing for Luo Shang is the power that comes with this piece of immortal abyssal armor. Although the nature of fluctuations has many similarities with the power of the abyss, but the former is much stronger than the latter, which is completely different from heaven and earth. Luo Shang could clearly perceive that even his bloodline of the 18-winged fallen angel was only slightly higher than it. Replace it with people of other races. At this moment, I am afraid that he has already been infected by these abyssal evil forces on the armor, and has become a weapon puppet. As expected, it is one of the 3 supreme artifacts of the abyss. It is really extraordinary. I don't know what kind of powerful posture this fallen armor will have when its power reaches its peak. Luo Shang then raised his eyebrows slightly. Just look at the immortal abyss armor intertwined like 10,000 shadows, all submerged into Luo Shang's body like water soaking into a sponge. Keep the original luxurious tuxedo. Now that the barrier of the protected area has disappeared, in addition to guarding against the creatures of the abyss, there are other reincarnators paying attention. Luo Shang said to himself. As far as he knows from Wanji Channel. Nowadays, the divisions with the largest number of reincarnators in all worlds are the abyss and heaven where they are. Among them, there are many more reincarnators in the abyss than in the heavens. And the exact size of this layer of the abyss is still unknown, so it's better to be cautious. Luo Shang just finished speaking. A necromancer's ethereal voice came. My lord, I have an emergency to report to you. Say, Luo Shang said. The Bia subdragon just appeared again, and came quickly from the southeast towards the territory. Hearing the word, Biza Yulong, Luo Shang recalled that huge abyssal creature. Soon, the corner of his mouth was slightly hooked, it's just right. Just use it to test your true strength with the immortal armor. Let me personally handle this abyssal creature, and you continue to follow my original plan. He voiced, Obey, my sovereign lord. The necromancer said respectfully. Luo Shang turned and flew southeast. About 2 minutes or so. Luo Shang stopped in midair. His handsome face was indifferent, and his pupils were shrouded in purple light. His mental vision spanned thousands of meters at once, and continued to expand. After counting interest, Luo Shang saw a small black dot in his field of vision as expected. As time passed, the black spot continued to enlarge. Until you can see the real shape completely. It was the Biza Yulong who left in embarrassment that day. Unexpectedly, the other party did not leave, but waited until the barrier of the protected area disappeared before reappearing. It seems that this Biza Yulong's IQ is not low. Luo Shang sighed lightly. Moment. The Biza Yulong has already flew within a few kilometers of Luo Shang. Biza Yulong naturally also noticed the existence of Luo Shang. Yulong opened his mouth. Roar. A bell wave that shook the sky and the earth erupted from it. The sound of the bell wave was frightening, and the air clouds and mists it passed exploded one after another, forming a hollow circle. Facing the blow of Biza Yulong, Luo Shang's heart skipped a beat. The immortal abyss armor floated on the surface of the clothes in an instant, covering Luo Shang's whole body. Boom. Zhang Bo arrived with a flick of his fingers and landed on Luo Shang's body. Zhang Bo hit the immortal Yuan armor like fierce and powerful winds. The sound of metal crashing is endless. But this momentum is fierce. But it didn't cause the slightest damage to Luo Shang. Luo Shang stood in the middle of the clock wave, motionless. Let Zhang Bo's extremely brutal force fall heavily on his limbs. Looking at Luo Shang who was unscathed. There also seemed to be a hint of surprise in the eyes of Biza Yulong. But soon Biza Yulong, those dragon eyes were filled with ferocity again. Roar, followed by another burst of high-pitched roar. The Biza Yulong opened its mouth and released its only mid-level skill, corrosion fire. The turbid dark gray flame is full of corrupt power. The flames formed a wave of light, piercing the sky. Face this trick. Luo Shang still didn't intend to hide, but just stood quietly. The light waves are swift and violent. Bang. The ear-piercing crackling sound continued at once. The shock was so loud that it could be heard clearly in a radius of 10,000 meters. A steep slope. Wow, shit, this is too outrageous. A white-haired man with a black eye patch covering his right eye opened his mouth wide and kept exclaiming. The double pupil in his left eye, which has 2 pupils at the same time, is staring at the midair not far away. That figure who resisted the light wave with his physical body, still remained motionless. This is an abyss creature of level 14. Such a terrifying blow can't even break that person's armor. Is this guy a reincarnation? Or a humanoid abyssal creature? The white-haired man was terrified. Gulu. After taking a deep gulp of water, the white-haired man quickly took a screenshot using the built-in function of the system. He hurriedly evacuated the place. Now that the protected area is gone, if you die, you are really dead. He can't guarantee that if he continues to watch the battle for a while, he can guarantee that he will be safe. After all, the risks are too great. At the same time, midair, Luo Shang remained motionless. The extremely ferocious corrosive fire was the same as the previous Zhongbo, unable to cause apex damage to Luo Shang. Luo Shang lowered his head slightly. Looking at the unscathed immortal abyss armor, a slight smile appeared on his face. The defensive power of this immortal abyss armor is really not bad. When he resisted 2 consecutive attacks by the Biza Yulong just now, he didn't use any power on his body. All rely on the immortal armor for defense. And now this result also makes him very satisfied. Now that the defense is tested, it's time to try another one. He smiled and looked at Biza Yulong. Biza Yulong Jian couldn't effectively attack Luo Shang with 2 consecutive skills. Roaring angrily, then he spread his wings and flew towards him, trying to prepare to use his proud physical strength to teach this mortal who didn't know the heights of the sky and the depths of the earth. Biza Yulong is fast. In a few breaths, he arrived in front of him. Yulong's huge feet smashed towards Luo Shang's body. The 5 sharp knives between the feet pierced through the space and rattled. Watching the powerful force between the palms of the Biza Yulong, Luo Shang still had a smile on his face. The test is over, it's time. 2 pairs of gorgeous and huge fallen angel wings spread out. The appearance of the fallen angel's wings instantly boosted Luo Shang's momentum several times. The Biza Yulong who swooped down to Luo Shang originally felt the monstrous abyssal power released from Luo Shang's body. The huge physical body can be seen to be slightly stagnant with the naked eye. In an instant, Biza Yulong felt an unprecedented sense of oppression descending on its fleshy body. It couldn't believe that the person in front of him could erupt such terrifying abyssal power. The reason why Biza Yulong can dominate the midair in this area is not only relying on its own strong body. The most important thing is the blood of the mixed subdragon that he relies on the most in his body. To know in the endless abyss, although there are thousands of species, there are very few abyssal creatures that can step into high levels. Because ordinary abyss creatures, without the support of a strong bloodline, cannot absorb enough power of the abyss to improve their own level. Moreover, abyssal creatures with higher bloodlines can have a certain suppressive effect on abyssal creatures with lower bloodlines. In the outer domain of the abyss first floor, there are quite a few abyssal creatures that can reach the 10th level or above. But it is almost difficult to see the blood of abyssal creatures that can surpass the Biza Yulong. The abyssal creatures in the peripheral areas were either killed or hunted when they encountered the Biza Yulong. So this is the first time that Biza Yulong has been suppressed by a creature whose bloodline is much higher than that. This is an extremely strong tremor. From the bottom of his heart, Biza Yulong felt very uncomfortable. But even so, Biza Yulong resisted the pressure and launched his own attack on Luo Shang. Boom! A high-pitched and deafening roar suddenly broke out. The power of the subdragon, is that the only thing? Only see. A shield of purple light condensed in front of Luo Shang. The power of Biza Yulong's feet fell heavily on the cover, only sparks and loud noises splashed. The shield is as solid as Mount Tai. The power that Biza Yulong is proud of seems to be a display in front of him. It didn't wait for Biza Yulong to react a little bit. Luo Shang said slowly, "Get lost." The sound is like thunder, boiling against the sky. A circle of purple waves spread out from the center of Luo Shang. The waves rolled in like a tsunami, extremely fierce. Biza Yulong spread its wings and stood in front of him. However, Biza Yulong obviously underestimated Luo Shang's strength. Waves crashed on the wings of the Biza worm. As if in an instant, Biza Yulong felt 1,000 mountains pressing down. Caught off guard, the body of Biza Yulong flew out like a cannonball. Flying across several kilometers, it crashed into a depression. Luo Shang was not prepared to give the opponent a chance to breathe. He moved mentally. The power of the darkest abyss from the immortal abyss armor on his right arm instantly condensed into a pitch-black magic bow in the palm of his hand. Bending like a shadow, countless strands of black air are released from it. An arrow condensed from the abyss appeared on the string. He pulled up the bowstring and let it go. The arrow flashed across like lightning, causing a piercing sound. On one side is the Biza Yulong, slowly vacated from the depression in the wings. But just after flying less than 100 meters, it also noticed the meteor that was flying towards it. Biza Yulong felt bad. Wings flap rapidly. On the left and right sides, 2 hurricanes formed. Clatter clatter. The wind roared, and 2 huge hurricanes about tens of meters long collided with the arrow. But the good times didn't last long. The hurricane was within 10 breaths of colliding with the arrow. The hurricane collapsed directly. The arrow was as fast as light, and fell on the flesh of Biza Yulong. PFF'd. Blood splattered for kilometers. I saw a big bloody hole pierced by the arrow in the left chest of Biza Yulong. Blood flowed from the mouth of the hole. Biza Yulong lowered his head and let out a painful roar. From the corner of its eye, it glanced at Luo Shang with 4 wings spread high. Just when Luo Shang thought that the latter was going to continue to attack. Unexpectedly, this Biza Yulong, like the previous abyssal creatures, turned his head and prepared to fly away. Luo Shang at the moment. In the heart of Biza Yulong, he completely changed from a prey to a hunter at the beginning. The previous momentum disappeared so quickly. Luo Shang smiled disdainfully. The Sword of Desire. 10 swords of desire pierced through the void behind him. The 10 swords were cut out, like 10 bright meteors piercing the sky. The Biza Yulong, who had just flown a few hundred meters to the north, had no time to react. He was killed in the air by these 10 swords of desire. You killed a level 14 Biza Yulong and gained 450 experience points. Looking at the corpse of the subdragon that fell into the valley not far away, Luo Shang said lightly, 450 experience points, not bad. For him, killing any abyss creature is profitable. After all, the special talent of supreme favor is there. All the abyssal creatures that I have killed so far have gained the highest experience points. Let me see what good things can be unleashed by the 14th level abyssal creature. Luo Shang quickly flew to the place where the Biza Yulong died. Biza Yulong was lying on a pool of blood, his gray-brown body was riddled with holes and stained with blood. The 10 swords of desire were like 10 big nails, completely nailing Yulong's body to the ground. It is detected that the current environment is suitable for using talents, and is using supreme favor. Collection completed. You have obtained the Heart of the Biza Yulong 1 Intermediate 5th level item, the Intermediate Skill Book, Corrosion Fire, *1 Intermediate 1st level item, the Scales of the Biza Yulong *3 Intermediate 1st level item, Low level Abyssal Soul 5, Low level Spar 500. Intermediate Skill Book, Biza Yulong's Heart, a total of 3 intermediate items. Among them is an intermediate level 5, which can be regarded as meeting his expectations. Immediately, he called up the information panels of the 3 items one after another. Heart of Biza Yulong. Level. Intermediate level 5. Introduction. The heart of the powerful creature Biza Yulong from the peripheral area of the first layer of the abyss contains the essence of Biza Yulong's life, which is extremely precious. Effect. Dragon Mojo. All creatures below the 10th level, after devouring this object, their level will be directly increased by 1 level. Note. If a user has swallowed the heart of the dragon, the level of swallowing again cannot be improved. Fire of Corrosion. Intermediate Skill Book. Level. Intermediate Level 1. Introduction. Dropped by the Yulong of the Bai tribe. After using it, you will learn this skill directly. Scales of the Biza Yulong. Level. Intermediate Level 1. Introduction. Dropped by the Biza Yulong, its scale armor has strong resistance to spells and physics, and is an excellent material for forging low-level weapons. After reading the general information of the 3 items, Luo Shang's main focus was still on the Yulong's heart. It actually allows people to directly upgrade to 1 level, although it is only limited to below 10 levels. But in today's environment, I'm afraid there is not a single reincarnator who has reached the 10th level. Once this item is sold on the exchange, it will definitely be sold at a very ideal price. The corners of Luo Shang's mouth raised slightly. Just do it. Luo Shang immediately cut out the interface of the exchange. At the same time, the Wanji channel. The news is still flying around. I don't know what fetishes the top 10,000 reincarnators got, can anyone tell me about it? Fatty's continent. It's not a fetish, I'm rank 9320th, and I got an advanced tier 1 weapon. Screenshot.jpg, Black Curse continent. First level advanced. Dragon continent. I'm only using a low-level pig-headed stick until now. More than 9,000 ranks all have high-level items, so wouldn't the rewards for people with higher ranks be even more terrifying? In the channel where I am now, there is a reincarnation ranked among the 1,000. What he got were 2 high-level 9th level items, and a chance to increase the level of the reincarnation race by 1 level. Magic card continent. I go. Reincarnation upgrade. This is a good thing. All the reincarnators on the 10,000 Worlds channel. Just got halfway through. A banner message popped up in front of them. The Holy you are following has just listed a new item on the exchange. After a few breaths, the Wanji channel, which was already full of discussions, seemed to be suddenly dropped by a depth bomb. All go, there's something good on the exchange, everyone, hurry up and check it out. I also saw that it can be directly upgraded by 1 level. Is there such a heaven-defying item? The shock of many. Most of the people on the channel subconsciously went to the exchange to check. Heart of Biza Yulong. Level. Intermediate level 5. Introduction. Current auction price. 1000 * low grade spar, bid by, Son of God. Luo Shang's price setting this time is not the same as in the past, it is directly marked. Instead, another function on the exchange is used. Item auction. Within an hour, whoever produces more low-level crystals will get more of the subdragon hearts. After all, compared to other direct pricing, this auction can better show the price of the Wulong heart. Luo Shang looked at the soaring auction price below the Yulong's heart. A faint smile appeared on his face. Let's wait for a few minutes to see the final result. Luo Shang turned around. Fly towards the territory. He ordered the troops to maintain the previous formation, and wiped out all the abyssal creatures that were close to the domain in a direction of 360 degrees from east to west, north to south, without dead ends. Because if the territory is to be upgraded to the 3rd level in the future, it must be ensured that there are no obstacles from any living units around. In Luo Shang's view, at his current speed, in less than half a month, it is enough to advance to the 3rd level. The only thing that is lacking now is the soul of the abyss. It seems that it is necessary to add a little more arms to speed up. After tens of minutes passed. At the moment, the popularity of the Wanji channel has not been reduced by half, but it has become more and more popular. And the reason why the heat is so high. In the final analysis, the price of the Biza Yulong is soaring every minute. At this moment, the bidding price for the low-level spar has reached an astonishing 4,007. Tisk tisk tisk, is there a rich man's world here? 4,700 low-grade crystals. It takes me to kill a few years of pigheads to reach this amount. As expected of a powerhouse who is firmly in the 2nd place, he can directly take out 4,700 low-level crystals. Fa's continent. Now the highest bidder is Conquer, who was ranked 2nd on the previous list. If nothing unexpected happens, the heart of this sub-dragon will definitely fall into the hands of this Conquer. Hey, if it weren't for my reincarnation race and talent, I would be just an ordinary person, which is really too low. Otherwise, if I were given an elite level, I would have at least 1,000 low-level crystals at this moment. 1,000 low-level crystals, let's blow it up upstairs. My reincarnation race is elite 9th level, and now there are only more than 500 low-level crystals. On a snow-white land with misty wind and snow, a tall and slender woman in blue clothes stood tall and graceful. The woman opened the interface. And what is displayed on the interface is the exchange. Now my level has reached level 8, and the unlocking of new arms requires me to reach level 9. Bing Zishui glanced at the personal panel on the right. At his current speed, it would take at least a week to reach level 9. This place is full of dangers. Monsters from the crypt are constantly emerging. Now that the protective barrier disappears, there will inevitably be monsters of level 10 or above breaking into this place. With her current strength, she can barely deal with a level 10 monster. But if several heads came at once, it would be really dangerous. She frowned slightly. If she could get the heart of the Biza Yulong, her worries would definitely be wiped away. Only 4,700 low-grade crystals. The price was too high for her. At this moment, there are only 3,000 low-level crystals in her whole body. It is impossible to photograph this Yulong heart at all. What's more, the amount of low-level crystals that can be mobilized by this conquest is more terrifying than the current number. I thought for a while. Bing Zishui's cold eyes fell on the seller interface next to the auction item, Heart of Biza Yulong. Looking at the personal interface of Shang, she clicks it on. He hesitated a little. She writes a sentence and sends it a friend request. But the application has just been sent. A message pops up. The other party rejects the friend request. Seeing this, She paused for a moment, suddenly realizing. I almost forgot, this holy setting is to reject friends. Then she shook her head, showing a hint of self-mockery. What am I doing? This kind of futile thing is obviously a waste of effort. I was so stupid that I forgot that the other party had set up automatic rejection. I can only think about whether there are other ideas. At the same time, Fortress of Eternity. Luo Shang sat on the throne. He looked at the exchange interface in front of him. There are only 3 minutes left before the final deal. 4,700 low-level crystals. It seems that this conquest is much richer than I imagined. Luo Shang said lightly. He is already very satisfied that a mid-level item can be sold at this price. Say it. His peripheral vision inadvertently glanced at the side interface. 3 red dots appear in the friend function. As the number of friend requests full again so quickly. He is sometimes quite helpless with this function, after the number of friend requests reaches the upper limit. It cannot be removed automatically, it must be done manually. He clicked on his friend and was about to clear up these useless information. This is just about to clear the message. Luo Shang's gaze happened to fall on the first friend request. If I remember correctly, this Bingji Shui seems to be the one who bought my skill book before. Luo Shang said to himself. On the friend application of the other party, there is a sentence attached. Your Excellency, I have a special random box with me. I am willing to use this item to trade the Yulong heart you got with Your Excellency. Special random box. The first thing Luo Shang noticed with his eyes was the 5 characters in this sentence. He learned about it on the Abyss channel before. Except myself. The top 100 reincarnators all got this item. This random box can draw items of different levels, and even some extremely special building blueprints and other things. However, the probability of a good item is extremely low, it all depends on one's luck. Someone on the Abyss channel obtained a half-level epic item through this. That means the upper limit of this box is at least a half-level epic level. If you want to compare the value of the two, apparently this particular random box is worth more. And the other party would trade such a thing with him, which surprised him. Immediately, Luo Shang soon had the answer in his heart. Change the friend request that has been automatically rejected, and change it back to agree. How is the surrounding situation now? Nan Wanqing said. Standing in front of her was a soldier in ice armor. The soldier's tone was calm. Opened the mouth. Master, those goblins and dwarves who were close to the surrounding area a few minutes ago have been beheaded by us. However, shortly after the goblin dwarves were killed, there was a huge movement in the crypt. Visual inspection has at least one monster of level 10 or above. Here, Nanwan Qingdai frowned. If the monsters in this cave were above level 10, that would be terrible. She took a deep breath and said, continue to follow my original plan. Once there is any new movement in the crypt, you must report to me as soon as possible. Yes. When the soldiers retreat, Nan Wanqing was silent for a while. Then open your space backpack. I saw the items in the first grid exuding a faint golden light. Special random box. Level. None. Introduction. From the killer event, you can get items of different levels after opening, and the items are not limited to weapon materials. This special random item is one of the rewards given to her by the killer event. And not just one, but 2. Another random box has been opened by her early. What I got was a blueprint of a new territory building, so I was lucky. This item is randomly selected, and it is possible to open a normal level item this time. But now the danger of the vault looms. If there is really a powerful monster with a level over 10 in it, and when it attacks the territory, everything will be over. Now she can only hope that this random box can open something useful to her at the moment. It would be great if I could find one to improve my own level. Nan Wanqing was talking to herself. She is only one level away from unlocking the latest unit. And the new unit has an ability that she urgently needs at the moment. When Nan Wanqing was about to open this special random box, Holy, has been applied by your friend. You have become friends. The sudden jump of these 2 pieces of information. But Nan Wanqing was stunned. After a few seconds of silence, Nan Wanqing tried to open an interface. There is only one line in the friend list. Sure enough, the word, Holy, appeared. He actually agreed. Nan Wanqing was shocked. Then he hurriedly replied. Before Nan Wanqing could speak first, a message came. Sage, I agree with your exchange. Nan Wanqing calmed down her extremely excited mood and answered. Ice snow. Good. The voice just fell. A message pops up. Your friend, Shang, has sent you a transaction message. Yes, no transaction. Without hesitation, Nan Wanqing pressed yes. Two exchanges-like interfaces popped up. These two interfaces, one is from your own side, and the other is from the other side. Both parties can see what the other party has put into the interface. At the same time that Nan Wanqing put her special random box into a grid. At this moment, it is only the last minute before the transaction auction officially ends. Fattest continent far away. On a vast plain, a fight is unfolding. Central Plains. A slender young man with purple hair stood with his hands behind his back. He looked around. These giant wolves and monsters surrounded him. A disdainful smile appeared on the whole face. A group of ants, let's go together. And accompanied by the provocation of the purple-haired youth. All the monsters took a step forward, and all rushed towards it. Seeing this scene, the purple-haired youth calmly said, West Wind's sacred sword. Conquer the right arm with a light lift. In the palm of your hand. A flash of extreme golden light shone like the rays of the sun. When the halo dissipates, a golden holy sword about 2 meters long emerged. The golden sword body of the holy sword is inlaid with countless gorgeous gems, and each gem contains extraordinary power. On the hilt is a huge sun shape. And on this hilt, there is also a small and exquisite mural engraved. Inside the mural, devout believers knelt down on the ground in pure white holy robes. They worshipped a holy sword on an altar. Qiyang swordsmanship. Conquer lifted the sword in his hand. Bursts of bright and dazzling golden flames suddenly burned up and down the sword body. Two swords chopped down. The dozens of giant wolves besieging were all divided into two under these two golden sword lights. The corpse of the monster lay on the ground. All of a sudden, blood flowed into rivers, and corpses littered the field. Conquer looking at the experience points that keep jumping out. Put away the epic first order item drawn from the special random box on the right hand. His eyes were slightly cold. Looking down, there was a corpse of a giant wolf under his feet. Lift your left foot lightly, and stomp hard. The powerful force instantly turned the head into a puddle of meat sauce. A strong smell of blood came out of his nostrils. Seeing this inhuman and bloody scene, Conqueror sneered, these filthy fools will all become my stepping stones to the highest. He dared to say the reward for this killer event. I am definitely the luckiest of these 10,000 people. I'm afraid that even the reward received by the holy, who ranked first, is not as valuable as what he received. Talking to himself, Conquer raised his left hand, fingers spread out. With a thought, a prismatic golden yellow crystal the size of a palm emerged. The crystals are crystal clear. Wisps of red gold gas can be seen floating inside with the naked eye. And these gases fluttered around after a few times. It turned into a dragon head. The dragon head opened its mouth and roared majestically. The anger contained in its dragon eyes can wash away everything in the world. Instantly, the crystal trembled slightly. A sense of divine intent overflowed with an absolute rank. The power stretches over 10,000 meters of land in an instant. Seeing all these conquests, his eyes were slightly shocked. This is the godhead of the dragon god. Even if it is only 1/10,000th of the power, it still makes my heart throb. Conquest is unimaginable. If the godhead that gathers all the power is placed in front of him, how terrifying it would be. With a little bit of excitement, he took back this godhead. Calculate the time, it should be over. Conquer opens the exchange interface. A few minutes ago, he already regarded the heart of the Biza Yulong as an item in his pocket. Now we are only one level away from the 10th level. Once we get the heart of the Biza Yulong, everything will be perfect. Although 4,700 low-level spar seems to be a bad deal to buy a mid-level item. But in today's environment, being able to advance to a level is a great help to oneself. He will not give up the long-term future for short-term benefits. Conquer casts a glance on the exchange. Tens of seconds passed. The expression on his face suddenly froze. What's going on? Why is something missing? Conquer looked back and forth a few times. Quickly notice a message appearing in the upper left corner. He clicked on it. Holy has removed the heart of Biza Yulong from the shelves. After reading it, Conquer paused for a few seconds. Followed by, Conquer, with an air of incredulity, quickly opened the friend list and sent several messages to Shang. And the other side, Luo Shang did not immediately respond to the news sent by Conquer. He put the heart of the Biza Yulong that had been removed from the exchange into the trading grid. Both parties can see each other's things, so there is no need to worry about deception. After placing the items to be traded between the two parties, they clicked Start directly. In progress, please wait patiently. Transaction complete. The Yulong heart in the interface suddenly disappeared. Instead, a black box appears within the grid. See here. Luo Shang had a slight smile in his eyes. The reason why he was willing to give up 4,700 pieces of low-level crystals was to trade with the latter. Naturally, he took a fancy to the value of the random box, which far exceeded that of the Yulong's heart. After all, under the influence of supreme favor. After I open it, this special random box can at least give me an epic level item, maybe there are even higher level items. This is a bloody deal. Its value is naturally not comparable to a mere 4,700 low-grade crystals. Before opening the random box, Luo Shang's gaze fell on Conquer, who had sent several messages. Conquer. What's going on, Your Excellency? Why was the heart of the Nabi Yulong taken off the shelves? After 1 minute, Conquer. You must at least give me a reason. On Fatus continent, inside a certain magnificent golden castle, Conquer is in the golden lobby, wandering back and forth. His face was solemn like never before. The heart of Biza Yulong, who was bound to win, was suddenly taken off the shelves by the saint. This directly disrupted his plan. What the hell is this saint thinking? As Conqueror spoke, his eyes looked at the friend information on the interface, waiting for the other party to give himself an answer. About a few seconds, opening square bracket exclamation mark. When a question mark popped up, Conquer stopped walking quickly. He clicked the exclamation point. Sage. This item was suddenly needed urgently, so it was removed from the shelves. See this sentence from Luo Shang. The corner of Conquer's mouth twitched slightly. Conquer. Urgent. If you simply think the price is still low, I can add more. Today's Biza Yulong's heart is related to whether he can upgrade at the fastest speed in the next few months. After all, as long as one reaches level 10, the power of one's reincarnation race will be further released. This is what he desires the most right now. Sage. No need. As I said, this item is for urgent use, so it will not be auctioned. Watching this message sent, Conquering a face is already full of ugly colors. He gritted his teeth and scolded angrily. Then it seemed that there was still a little reluctance in his heart. Speak again. Conquer. This thing is very important to me. I am willing to give out 9,000 low-level crystals. Your Excellency, how about selling my conquest to save face? To conquer is to take out all of one's family assets at once. In conquest, it seems, if you can get an extremely high price, maybe it will make that holy loose mouth. However, 1 minute after his message was sent, Shang did not reply for a long time, as if ignoring it. This completely overflowed the gloomy color in Conquer's eyes. He clenched his right hand tightly. Don't take it off the shelf early, don't take it off the shelf late. Just take it off the shelf 1 minute before the auction is about to end. It's so unreasonable. Conquer me as a clown, right? Conquer anger. He stared at the interface where he was talking to Luo Shang. If it weren't for the opponent's unfathomable strength, he would have cursed at someone else. Today's matter, I will conquer and remember. Recalling the dragon god in the space. A pair of cold eyes set off a trace of killing intent. In the future, he will definitely make this saint pay the price. Naturally, Luo Shang didn't know that the conquest on the other side had already hated him. Luo Shang sat safely on the cold throne. The dialogue with Conquer has long been closed by him. Instead of saying it so clearly, I am still so resolute. He didn't bother to answer the other party, so he just put it aside. Now let's take a look at what you can get from this special random box. Luo Shang's attention fell back on the random box that was traded from Bing Zishui. He clicked and pressed, Open. The special random box is being opened for you, please wait patiently. It is detected that the current environment is suitable for using talents, and is using supreme favor. Congratulations on getting the legendary hero unit, Lilith Chesia. Click to view. Legendary hero unit. Luo Shang was stunned when he heard these words. Afterwards, ecstasy quickly appeared on his face. I didn't expect such a thing to be opened in this random box. What are hero class units? Once an ordinary unit dies, it is really dead and cannot be revived. And if the heroic unit dies, it can be resurrected through the unit building. And each hero level unit has unlimited level growth, as well as many other functions, which are very powerful. It is far from being comparable to ordinary arms. And hero class arms. There are only two ways to get it. One is through recruitment or conquest. The second is to summon it through the demon god's desire field. As for the second type, if you want to summon hero level units, you must reach level 20 as a prerequisite, and the demon god's desire field must also reach level 3. Now I have a hero level unit before I even reached level 20, and it's still a legendary level unit. A mid-level Biza Yulong Heart, replaced by a legendary hero unit, is a bloody profit. Luo Shang was heartbroken at the same time. He hastily clicked on the View Details at the back. Lilith Chesia, Legendary Level. Level 20. Opening square bracket question mark question mark question mark question mark. For other specific information, please call it out and check again. Yes, no, call out. Luo Shang saw the last column. Without a trace of hesitation, he pressed directly to call out. Next moment, on the bright red carpet, a pitch-black magic circle emerged. Gotcha. The moment when the appeal was heard softly. The magic circle is like a gear, turning away. Thousands of strands of purple mist float out from the formation. The fog condenses into a gate to hell. Heads hung on both sides of the prison door. Among these heads, there is a high-power angel god, and there are also supreme powers of other races. Their deaths were tragic, which can be described as shocking. Crunch. The gates of hell slowly opened. A burst of cold air that could penetrate the depths of the soul escaped from the crack in the door. Lilith Chesia, pay my respects to the Supreme Lord of the Abyss. A soft voice came out that was soft and delicate, with a hint of numbness and excitement. Luo Shang also saw the specific appearance of this legendary hero unit. Lilith is tall and hot, with a pair of small horns growing on the side of her head and ears, and her black hair cascading down to her waist. On a beautiful melon-seated face, there is a pair of gorgeous eyes that can stir up any mortal heart. Lilith took a few steps forward lightly, with an extremely coquettish temperament. Especially the two moles of tears under the corners of the eyes always give people a feeling of charm. She then knelt down on one knee towards Luo Shang. That tight-fitting black armor showed her proud and delicate body to the fullest. Immediately, a panel in front of Luo Shang popped out automatically. Lilith Chesia, Legendary Level. Level 20. Skills. Charm of the Evil, Level 1 Epic, Shadow of Desire, Level 1 Epic, Eternal Fall, Level 1 Epic, Servant of Darkness. Introduction. The 16-winged original fallen angel born from the will of the Abyss, representing the most evil side of the world, believes in and submits to the great Lord of the Abyss. 5 epic skills, worthy of being a legendary hero unit, the strength is really strong. Luo Shang could feel that this posture was obviously not Lilith's true form. Tweak your heart a little. A cold tone came from his mouth. Is Lilith. Luo Shang sat quietly on the throne, resting his chin on his right hand. Yes, the Supreme Lord. Lilith nodded, her words were full of respect and excitement. She was born to serve the Lord of the Abyss. For so many years, she has been searching for traces of the Lord of the Abyss in the infernal hell. Now that the Lord of the Abyss finally appeared in front of her, she was naturally extremely excited. From now on, all the troops in the territory will be under your control. Listen to Luo Shang's appointment. Lilith lowered her head. Lilith obeys. At the same time, at the gate of the temple, the mist rose, and a fallen demon appeared under the eyes of everyone. The fallen man knelt down to Luo Shang. My lord. What is it? Luo Shang opened his mouth. We discovered a super large dark goblin tribe 10 kilometers northeast of the territory, with a scale of several thousand. Oh, Luo Shang's eyes brightened slightly. How is your specific strength? According to the investigation, the strongest of this super large goblin tribe is a 13th level dark goblin chief. Besides, there are 10 dark goblin priests up to level 12. After listening to the investigation information, Luo Shang turned his head slightly. He felt Luo Shang's eyes shift to his body. Lilith had a charming face. showing a trace of a smile. Please rest assured, my lord, Lilith alone is enough for such a small matter. See the other party say so. Luo Shang said. Then leave it to you. Lilith put her right hand lightly on her left chest, and nodded. Then stood up. After the two left one after another. Luo Shang opened the Wanji channel. But as soon as the channel was turned on, Luo Shang couldn't help squinting his eyes slightly. Shit, is this really human? Such a terrifying attack can be resisted by physical body alone. Dragon continent. This should be a humanoid monster. How could it be a human? Fatty's continent. Shit, what kind of humanoid monster? This is clearly a human. Asian continent. But if it is really a human being as said above, then this person is too terrifying. Looking at all the reincarnated people today, there is probably only one person who can have such strength. Gaia continent. Could it be that the person upstairs wants to say that the person in the picture is the saint? The person who posted this picture is in the abyss, and the holy boss is also in the abyss. Maybe he is really the holy boss. Luo Shang watched and wrote down. A picture appeared on his eyes. The picture is blurry though, but it can be seen vaguely. A slender figure stood high in the sky, facing an incomparably mighty light wave without any damage. And this slender figure, Luo Shang recognized at a glance that it was him. Interesting. The battle between me and the Biza Yulong was filmed. But judging from the blurring of the picture, the photographer is shooting from a very remote distance. Otherwise, if he got close, he should have been perceived by his own spirit long ago. However, since someone can take pictures, it means that there may be other reincarnated territories not far from my territory. Luo Shang smiled mysteriously. Follow the previous rules of the system. After the protected area disappears, a reincarnated person who kills another reincarnated person can directly get the other party's possessions, and even some experience. After Lilith finishes solving the Dark Goblin tribe, it's time to start sending fallen demons and other units to investigate the traces of other reincarnated people around. After talking to himself, Luo Shang closed the chat interface. Not far away, Lilith Chesia has reached a small hill. She looked at the super large Dark Goblin tribe 1 kilometer away. A 10-meter high stone city wall was built around the tribe, and the city wall formed a circle. On the top of the city wall, there is a watchtower every 100 meters. There are 4 strong and tall goblin archers standing on each watchtower. Compared with many tribes that Luo Shang had met before, this Dark Goblin tribe was heavily defended. It seems that there is a trend of a small country. If you give it hundreds of years of development time, maybe it is really possible to transform from a tribe into a goblin kingdom. Look away. Lilith had a thought. 3 pairs of fallen angel wings are on display at the back. She flies to it. Lilith's fast speed was quickly spotted by a group of goblin shooters on the observation deck. There are enemies. A goblin shooter had a hideous face, and he opened his mouth to speak goblin language. Attack. All the goblin archers on the watchtower raised their wooden longbows with their left arms, and took out an arrow from the arrow stick behind them with their right arms. Draw a bow and shoot arrows, flowing clouds and flowing water. Obviously well trained. Dozens of arrows pierced through the clouds, and the blue abyss flames burned at the tips of the arrows, as if a meteor shower had passed by. Each of these arrows is obviously engraved with an abyss spell. A ridiculous attack. Lilith's depraved angelic appearance was full of disdainful sneers. I saw those arrows were within a kilometer of Lilith. Suddenly plummeted down. It seemed to be suppressed by a huge gravity. Between several breaths, Lilith has gone outside the tribal wall. But she was not in a hurry to make a move. But first it landed on the ground and folded its wings. All the goblin shooters on the observation deck were also extremely panicked. They didn't expect the arrows to be unable to attack each other. Continue to attack. Some goblins continued to yell. Immediately, another round of arrows rained out. Lilith's slender right arm was slightly raised. The suet jade-like index finger pointed towards the void. The void is like the surface of water, causing waves of ripples. Clatter. Countless arrows shot swiftly were frozen in the air. Become a wisp of ashes in this cold abyss, lowly scum. Lilith's seductive winking eyes flashed with the blood of killing. With a light flick of the index finger, the trembling void immediately twisted like a stretchy spider web. Those frozen arrows are watched by countless pairs of eyes. The arrow body was twisted very strangely. Align the attack direction to the opposite direction of the original shot. Swipe. The sound of breaking through the air was clear and loud. The dark goblins on the watchtower were caught off guard. Instantly killed by the flying arrows. Arrows pierced their heads. Brain mixed with blood and white splattered all around. Side. Your hero unit, Lilith Chesia, killed a level 6 dark goblin shooter and gained 100 experience points. Your hero unit, Lilith Chesia, killed a level 5 dark goblin shooter and gained 50 experience points. Your heroic unit, watching the information on the virtual panel constantly swipe. Luo smiled slightly, it started so soon. If there are no accidents, this battle should end soon. Within the tribe, a dark goblin sentry panicked. He quickly stepped into a huge military camp in front of him. The barracks is extremely spacious, with torches erected on the left and right sides. The flame on the torch burns vigorously, illuminating the 4 fields in the camp. Besides the torches, there were tall goblin knights in refined iron armor standing on both sides. Master Chief, something is wrong. The sentry's tone was hurried, and he knelt down on the ground as soon as he entered. And in front of the direction where he was kneeling, with a diameter of 100 meters, there stands a skeleton chair made of dense white bones. On the chair, sitting on it was a burly goblin nearly 3 meters high. He is the chief of this super large tribe. What's the matter? So flustered. The goblin chief opened his mouth with a pair of fangs. There was a heavy, thunderous sound. The oppressive feeling unique to the high level is vaguely released in the words. The sentry in front suddenly felt a strong sense of oppression. The goblin sentry hurriedly continued, Sir Chief. Some unknown creatures have invaded the tribe. The voice fell. The goblin chief, who was sitting still, stood up suddenly. The thick silver armor, following the movement of the body, made a crisp sound of clang clang clang. How courageous, what kind of ant dares to invade my territory, watch how I tear him into pieces. The goblin chief's thick left arm took a large sword from his back. Boom, the big sword hit the ground, making a resounding sound. You can see the weight of this sword. Then, Chief Goblin raised his right hand and waved it. A row of goblin knights lined up on the left and right sides immediately took orders and turned around to leave the camp. The goblin chief looked angrily at the sentinel, go and inform the priest. Yes, the sentinel nodded his head heavily, then hurriedly retreated. The goblin chief held the hilt of the big sword tightly in his left hand, and stared at the air with eyes filled with infinite anger. Exactly. I'm still short of some energy to be promoted to level 14, so I'll take you, the intruder bar. ... The gate in the middle of the city wall creaked and was pulled open. When the door is wide open, well-trained dark goblins quickly appeared from the door. Just a minute, hundreds of murderous, ready-to-go dark goblins appeared neatly in front of Lilith. If it were other reincarnators, seeing the scale at this moment, they would have been scared to death. After all, every goblin here has a minimum level of 5. But all of this seems to Lilith. Hey, creatures on the first layer of the abyss are really pitifully weak. Lilith covered her mouth with her right hand, her gorgeous face revealing a sneer. Among the countless monsters in the abyss, Lilith didn't look down on goblins, who were at the lowest bloodline. Even killing them, Lilith felt her own hands were dirty. However, this is the order of the Lord of the Abyss. Even the filthy and lowly creatures of the abyss must do it today. Lilith shrugged, and this ready-to-go battle officially kicked off with the goblin tribe taking the lead. ****. Bursts of low and dark abyss spells came slowly. Around Lilith, on the ground in the southeast, northwest and 4 directions, a tombstone was drilled out of each. A gray light shot out from the 4 tombstones. The 4 lights gather in midair. That is, on top of Lilith's head. Moment. A barrier unfolded, covering a radius of 500 meters with Lilith as the center point. And behind the dark goblin, 4 12th level dark goblin priests raised their staffs high and their eyes glowed. It is not difficult to guess that the enchantment was cast by them. As soon as the enchantment appears, a crowd of dark goblins also swarmed up. They were extremely brave, and the blades in their hands were facing the graceful phantom in the barrier. Then let's make a quick decision, so as not to let the Lord nagging. The Shadow of Desire. Lilith's skills are cast. From under the soles of the feet, a shadow gushed out like a tide. The shadows were raging, and before all the goblins could react in time, the land with a radius of 1 kilometer had been turned into a land of shadows. Why can't I move? Some goblins were bewildered, and their eyes shifted to their feet. He found that his feet had sunk into the shadows. Hundreds of goblin lintons were stuck in a quagmire, immobilized by immobilization spells all over their bodies. Even the goblin priests who cast spells could not escape. It was also the moment when all the goblins were struggling desperately, trying to get rid of the shackles. In the land of shadows, a trace of shadow power emerged. These shadows actually condensed into dark goblins one by one. Moreover, the number of goblins transformed from shadows is the same as that of goblins. The shadow goblin's body was pitch black, his eyes were scarlet, and he rushed towards him with a weapon in his hand. But because he couldn't move, the dark goblin couldn't make a series of actions such as defense. He could only watch helplessly as the sword slashed towards him. PFF'd. Blood burst. A large group of dark goblins fell to the ground and died at a speed visible to the naked eye. These shadow goblins, with swords up and down, basically hit the vitals with one move. The goblins couldn't stop them at all, and died on the spot. Less than a minute, more than half of the hundreds of goblins had been killed. It is also in the middle of this one-sided overwhelming massacre. Stop. There was a burst of anger. When the sound was disturbing, it was also accompanied by a strong wind. At the gate of the city wall, a huge figure with a hulking back appeared. The person who appeared was none other than Chief Dark Goblin. The ferocious eyes of the Dark Goblin Chief were full of murderous intent. The sense of oppression of a chief is daunting. See the Dark Goblin Chief appear. Lilith's expression remained calm. A group of shadow goblins still brandished their weapons and slashed at the goblins ahead. Seeing that the other party still didn't have the slightest pause. I'm going to tear you to pieces. The Dark Goblin Chief roared and kicked his feet up. People shot out like cannonballs. As the king of this Dark Goblin tribe, under the increase of the chief's halo, the overall strength of the Dark Goblin Chief has approached to level 14. The Dark Goblin Chief held the hilt of the great sword with both arms, and then swung the blade in midair. This huge force caused a crisp sonic boom in the air. The big sword swung out. Rows of shadow goblins standing in front of them were instantly cut in half and turned into shadows. The diameter of the sword cut towards Lilith. Clang. However, when the big sword was close to Lilith at a distance of 100 meters. The land of shadows below. Suddenly a wall of shadows rises. The sword slashed to the wall. There was a burst of brilliant sparks and a gust of wind. This wall of shadows is not like those shadow goblins before, which can be easily chopped into pieces. The Dark Goblin Chief stands on the land of shadows with both feet, his face is extremely gloomy. He used the strength of his arms to the extreme, but he couldn't split the dark shadow wall in front of him. He then bowed his head. Looking at the land of shadows on the ground, he said to himself, the Beast King's protection time is limited, this land is extremely weird, it's better to keep a distance from it first. At this moment, the Dark Goblin Chief was furious. But reason has not yet been occupied by hatred. He could clearly feel a special controlling force on the land under his feet. Any creature without defense will be as immobile as the soldiers before it. The reason why he is fine now is naturally because he has activated the skill of Beastmaster's protection. The Dark Goblin Chief gave up his attack. Kick off your feet. Withdrew to a kilometer away. After leaving the land of shadows, the Goblin Chief decisively used his whole cards. #****. He opened his mouth and let out a low hum. A string of bone and tooth necklaces flew out from the neck. The necklace flew in front of him and rotated slowly, accompanied by continuous singing. In the void behind the necklace, a gigantic flame formation floated up. The moment the magic circle appeared, another 6 high-pitched mantras chanted and echoed. I saw it on the wall. 6 12th level goblin priests raised their staffs and chanted. The staff rotated slightly, and a wave of red flames shot out from it. 6 beams of light arrived at the flame array. The fireball in the center of the formation, which continuously gathered energy, suddenly became several times larger. Together with the flames, it was also blazing for several minutes. Turn me to ashes. Endless rage. The chief of the Dark Goblin opened his mouth angrily, sending out a sound wave. The huge fireball on the flame array in front of him was moved by the sound waves. Immediately lost out. Incomparably mighty flames splashed all over the ground, like a red rainbow passing by. In the eyes of the dark goblin chief, this move of his is enough to annihilate all abyssal creatures below level 15. Although the opponent doesn't know the specific race, but if he directly greets him with this move, he will definitely die. Fireballs come and go as fast as they come. It blasted to the wall of shadow in an instant, forming a small mushroom cloud. The dust and mist swayed for several kilometers. It is good. Master Chief is mighty. Ha ha ha, this intruder probably doesn't know how terrifying the chieftain's true strength is. Countless dark goblins on the city wall raised their weapons and laughed ferociously. They cheered, excited, and rejoiced to see their great chief tear the invading enemy in front of them to pieces. As time goes by little, the mist gradually dissipated. This, however, the scene of stepping into the eyes of the beast made the chief dark goblin and all the goblins freeze. The wall of shadows still stands firm as Mount High. The terrifying destructive power of the fireball not only failed to break through the wall, but also failed to leave even a trace. The dark goblin chief stared wide-eyed, unable to believe that the picture in front of him could be real. It's so pitifully weak. Lilith, who hadn't moved for a long time, spoke. With a mocking look, she looked at the dark goblin chief who was stunned and motionless. Forget it, let me teach you these inferior species how to use spells correctly. Lilith smiled lightly on her pretty face, her charming feeling was touching. Her thoughts moved slightly. The shadow covering a radius of 1 kilometer receded quickly like an ebbing tide. Followed by an extremely appalling sense of oppression suddenly descended. 3 pairs of graceful and gorgeous wings of fallen angels suddenly appeared behind them. The scarlet blood in Lilith's eyes flickered like an electric arc. The dark goblin chief looked at the opponent's true posture like a demon god. Pores all over the body stand up. A chill of fear rose from his heart, as if freezing all the blood in his veins. Black wings, such deep abyssal power and fallen power, could it be the legendary fallen angel? The dark goblin chief was terrified. But what puzzled him the most was, don't the top abyssal races like fallen angels only live in high-level abysses? How could it appear in such a tiny place on the first floor of the abyss? And, 6 wings. Chapter 41. The number of wings represents the strength of the fallen angel and the noble level of the blood. Seraphim right now, as far as he knew. Among the fallen angels, they also belong to the elite of the elite. Why did such a noble existence come to him? The goblin chief trembled with fear. Before he opened his mouth to speak, a soft voice pulled him back. Destroying demonic flame. Behind Lilith, a round of black light appeared. The light wheel is like a black hole solar eclipse, bottomless. The horrifying aura that overflowed from it seemed to be able to swallow the sky and the earth, making all the goblins on the scene tremble. Turn into a speck of dust in this eternal abyss, you inferior species. Lilith smiled. A few breaths after the voice fell. The black wheel behind it was violently turbulent. Then the rim flew several meters into the sky. Wow! Skeletons burning with fallen magic flames flew out of the holes. The skulls covered the sky, turning the darkest sky into a cloud of fire and aurora. No! Attack! Attack quickly! The goblins on the city wall turned pale with fright, then hastily raised their longbows and shot arrows. But the fierce arrows pierced the skull. The arrow body was instantly engulfed by the powerful magic flame on the skeleton. The 6 goblin priests chanted the abyss spell together. Creates a light gray shield. Overwhelmed the huge tribe. Bang bang bang. The shield lasted for less than 10 seconds before it fell to pieces. The sky is full of skulls, like a rainstorm. When the goblins on the city wall touched it, they were instantly devoured by the fierce flames and turned into dust. Under this majestic force, the towering city wall collapsed and shattered. The tribe turned into a sea of flames in just an instant. As for the goblin chief on one side, the horizontal sword is in front of him, resisting the skulls that are constantly falling from the sky. The power of the skull was like small hills descending from the sky, and the terrifying power made his limbs extremely heavy. The goblin glanced back, seeing that the place he ruled in the past has turned into a sea of flames in a blink of an eye. The color of fear on the face of the goblin chief was gradually replaced by endless anger. Knowing that there was no way out in this battle, he decided to fight to the death. He had a ferocious face and roared, So what about the noble fallen angels? My dark goblin Lin Yi clan is just a speck of dust in this eternal abyss, but our courage is invincible. The supreme god of war Cavil, please grant me endless power to defeat the enemy in front of me. The forehead of the goblin chief. A mark of a beast's paw appeared. The mark of the beast paw glistened with blood, and red marks stretched out on the skin. These red marks quickly spread all over the goblin chief's burly body, like tattoos. Wow! The goblin chief's aura suddenly rose, and the power of the abyss boiled. Lilith looked coldly at the goblin chief who wanted to fight her to the death. There was a silent sarcasm on her alluring face. Cavil, is that the Beastmaster Lord on the 20th floor of the abyss? It's just an inferior ant that can't even reach level 80. Lilith chuckled first, then seemed to think of something. She said, but for an inferior race like yours, it is indeed a miracle to be able to get rid of the restriction of blood and reach this level. Cavil is the only goblin in the Dark Goblin clan who has reached level 50. For an inferior race like Dark Goblin whose upper limit is almost completely locked, it is indeed a miracle among miracles to have such an achievement. But in Lilith's view, compared with the current goblin chief, this Cavil is at most a stronger ant. After all, she is not in perfect form now. Her true full form is enough to crush thousands of so-called Cavils in a single thought. The goblin chief who forcibly enhanced his own strength by relying on his berserk state. Hold the sword high with both hands to resist the bombardment of the skull, while the body rushes forward savagely. Trying to rely on the short-term power leap of the physical body to defeat Lilith. But what the goblin chief didn't know was, in Lilith's eyes, this scene of hers was extremely ridiculous. Lilith hooked her right index finger slightly. The overwhelming skulls merged together and turned into a huge skull. The skull was burning with ferocious flames, like a meteorite falling straight down. Chief Goblin didn't expect these skulls to be able to fit together. He first showed a look of surprise on his face, and then he clenched his teeth. Roaring, Dark Goblin Yi clan will never give up. The big sword pointed directly at the huge falling skull. It can be described as heroic. Until, boom. There was a deafening bang. Lilith flying into the air. Slightly flapping the 6 wings, overlooking the situation below. Thousands of meters of ground sank into a deep pit. And the bottom of the pit. All he could see was a piece of black powder and a fragment of a great sword that was shattered all over the place. The victory and defeat have been divided. ... Fortress of Eternity. Congratulations on your promotion to level 16. Luo Shang, who took this pop-up message into his eyes, showed a hint of satisfaction on his face. A rough calculation, about 5 minutes. As expected of a legendary hero unit, it really didn't disappoint me. Now that Lilith is his whole card, many of his worries can be eliminated. Now the main focus is on upgrading, Luo Shang said to himself. His current goal is to reach level 25 within these 2 months. As long as he reaches level 25, his bloodline can be unsealed again. And the territory can also be upgraded to tier 3. Luo Shang then opened the exchange. At the beginning, the exchange requires level 4 to list items in it. As a result, in the first few days, the items on the shelves had nothing but the things I put on them. It's been almost 2 weeks now. Most of the people's levels have also successfully reached the 4th level. So now the items listed on the exchange can be described as a dazzling array of all kinds. Luo Shang glanced roughly. It quickly settled on an item. Low-level abyssal soul. What he lacks most now is the low-level abyssal soul. Because the abyssal soul produced by each abyssal creature is very limited, it is not like the low-level spar that can obtain many pieces at once. From his point of view, the only way to replenish quickly is to buy other people's low-level abyssal souls from the exchange. As for low-level abyssal souls, there are a lot of public items on the exchange, so the price is mediocre. According to the price of the system, a strand of low-level abyssal soul is worth 5 low-level crystals. In order to earn more low-level crystals to improve their strength, some people lowered the price of abyssal souls to 2 or 3 yuan. However, the competition in the exchange market is fierce now, and sometimes Luo Shang also sees some people who urgently need low-grade crystals to buy and sell other things. They even packaged 2 low-level abyssal souls into 2 low-level crystals for sale. After a few minutes of sweeping, Luo Shang finally purchased different numbers of low-level abyssal souls from various reincarnators at the price of 3,900 low-level crystals. Add up to a total of more than 4,000 low-level abyssal souls. It can be said that it is profitable. Lilith greets the Supreme Lord. Lilith's soft voice sounded from somewhere. Enter. Luo Shang rested his cheek on his right hand. The palace door was pushed open gently. Lilith Chesia, who had returned in triumph, walked in. The temple gates merged. Lilith walked towards Luo Shang slowly with her tall legs. That devilish figure really aroused people's desire. Walked more than 10 steps. Lilith knelt down on one knee, lowered her head lightly, and said respectfully, "The Dark Goblin tribe has been completely wiped out by my subordinates, and there is no survivor." Very good. Luo Shang bowed his head and praised, "Good job. Now that the territory has just been established, many important matters will be entrusted to you." Lilith seemed a little flattered, and quickly replied in a low voice, "It is Lilith's dream to be able to serve the Lord. The meaning of her existence is to serve Luo Shang, the Lord of the Abyss." "That's right, my lord. This is what Lilith just found in that tribe." Lilith presented a roll of old and yellowed sheepskin with both hands. Luo Shang's mental strength moved slightly. The parchment floated in front of him. The property panel about this object is then presented to the eye. Tribal map. Level. Lower level 9. Introduction. It is made of special sheepskin, with the locations of other dark goblin tribes recorded on it. A map. Luo Shang opened this tribe map thoughtfully. After watching for about a minute, the corners of Luo Shang's mouth curled up slightly. It doesn't take much effort to get it. On this map, a total of 12 dark goblin tribe locations are recorded. And this goblin chief carefully wrote down the overall strength of the 12 tribes on this map. Today, there are a total of 9 dark goblin tribes closest to this place, and the remaining 4 are outside this area. If he could wipe out all the 12 dark goblin tribes, his experience should be enough to raise him to level 20. Lilith. Luo Shang closed the map. "My great lord, please say." Lilith bowed her head. "I need you to get rid of the 9 dark goblin tribes closest to this place within 5 days." Luo Shang said slowly. Lilith closed her eyes slightly, and replied softly, "Lilith takes orders." Lilith just stood up and was about to step back. "My lord, I have something to report. A fallen demon who was just sent out for reconnaissance was seriously injured." The deep voice from the eternally fallen knight echoed in the hall. "Seriously injured? Did you encounter any powerful creature?" "No. According to the fallen, the attacker is an outsider like you." The moment Luo Shang heard these words, the look in Luo Shang's eyes changed suddenly. The outsider mentioned by the eternal fallen knight naturally means the reincarnated person. He said seriously, "Let's listen." An hour ago. After listening to what the eternal fallen knight said, Luo Shang's expression returned to calm, and he replied lightly, "And now I can find out the exact location of the other party. The necromancer has just found the location through tracking. This outsider is now located in a miasma swamp 9 kilometers northwest of the territory. 9 kilometers away." Judging from the original words of the eternal fallen knight, Luo Shang speculated that the reincarnation should be below level 8. There may not even be 7 levels. Because the fallen demon was seriously injured. It was because of being besieged by the opponent's combination of many arms, and the opponent used several large-scale skills that it was seriously injured. Otherwise, if the opponent is really strong, they won't let the fallen demon escape easily when he is seriously injured. Ants dare to hurt my lord's genus and tarnish the lord's glory, it's really disgusting. The subordinates are willing to lead all the soldiers to destroy this hateful outsider. Let his body be smashed into thousands of pieces, and there will be no place to die." The eternal fallen knight made a chilling voice. The killing intent in the language is awe-inspiring. In his opinion, this outsider's move is completely provoking Luo Shang's supreme dignity. As a loyal servant of the Lord, he must take the head of the other party to defend the honor of the territory. Don't rush to do it now. When it's time to do it, I will let you do it. And Luo Shang did not directly agree to the request of the fallen knight, but replied, "As ordered." The subordinate was abrupt. "Please forgive me, my lord. Let's get back first." "Yes." While the voice of the eternally fallen knight gradually receded, Lilith's vermilion lips parted slightly. "My lord, does this overwhelmed outsider need Lilith?" No need. You do your own first. Depending on the situation, the opponent's level should not even be 7 or 8. I will send someone to deal with him then. Lilith understands. After Lilith made a gesture of resignation, she left here. Looking at this dark and silent icy palace, Luo Shang rested his cheek on his right hand. The gorgeous purple pupils had a hint of a smile. I'm not in a hurry to find traces of other reincarnators, but some people like to send them to my door. It's really interesting. Follow the rules of the system. Each reincarnator is upgraded to level 5, after establishing a territory. The territory will have a 1-month hidden mechanism. This concealment mechanism can make it difficult for other reincarnated people to find the territory. Of course, this hidden mechanism is only effective for reincarnated people. Has no effect on monsters. And besides that, this mechanism has a huge disadvantage. That is, the master of the territory cannot expose his traces outside the territory. Once traces are found, the hiding mechanism of the territory is basically equivalent to useless. When the fallen fled, it left a mark around the reincarnated territory. The necromancer, on the other hand, relied on the abyss spell just now to connect with the imprint, and basically determine the location of the other party's territory. Now is the time to get ready. For this reincarnated person who has never met and injured his own unit. Luo Shang didn't have good intentions, but only murderous intentions. At the same time, the other shore of the eternal fallen territory is opposite. In the center of a miasma-filled swamp, there is a territory with a diameter of 1 kilometer. In the center of the territory stands a chilly bone fortress. In front of the fort is a graveyard. The messy group of tombstones in the cemetery overlapped with the bones of an unknown creature, all around. It looks like a mass grave. Cough, cough, cough. The sight moved to a place in the cemetery where the bones piled up the most. There stood a bony figure. I didn't expect there to be such a strange creature in the abyss. Chen Fangu's jaw was tight, blood was visible between the corners of his mouth. His eyes squinted at a small bloody hole in the right chest and abdomen. Bright blood flowed out little by little from the hole. There was a hint of ferocity on his face. Rewind the time to an hour ago. The 2 ghouls he summoned found an abyssal creature in a black robe and made of mist outside the miasma. After receiving the news from the ghoul, Chen Fangu first asked the ghoul to investigate the level of this unknown abyssal creature. However, the fallen deliberately hid its level, so that Gaiwu, the corpse eater, could not see its level. Only by the weak breath alone, it can be concluded that the level of the fallen demons is lower than them. This erroneous news reached Chen Fangu's ears. It also made this reincarnator who was eager to upgrade directly move to kill. After all, the abyssal creatures that have never been seen before may be able to burst out some rare materials. With such a purpose, it is also just in case. He sent 2 more ghouls to help. Chen Fangu, who originally thought that this abyssal creature would surely die, never expected it. Within a few minutes, the bad news came. 4 4th-level ghouls were no match for each other. The 4 ghouls were killed in an instant until only 1 remained, and fled back in embarrassment with serious injuries. Chen Fangu, who saw this scene before, was absolutely furious. However, the look of fear of anger in his heart was quickly replaced and turned into infinite fear. Because the abyssal creature that easily killed 3 ghouls in succession followed the ghouls' escape direction and tracked them into the territory. This made Chen Fangu feel like he was walking on eggshells and panicked. On the one hand, he is afraid of the unfathomable strength of this abyssal creature, and on the other hand, it is also the point that makes his scalp tingle the most. That is, this weird abyssal creature has wisdom. Because the other party saw him instantly. Open your mouth and say the word, outsider. To know, there are very few intelligent abyssal creatures at low levels, and only high-level abyssal creatures can possess wisdom. Chen Fangu knows that today either you will die or I will live. Use all means at your disposal decisively. Now that the protected area has disappeared, if he dies here, he will never be resurrected again. He let all the remaining troops in the territory besiege the fallen demons. Although there is an increase in the territory, but the ghouls' attack is completely difficult to really hurt the opponent. The fallen follow him like a shadow, and can easily escape into the dark underground. Then drill out from another ground. It caught him and the ghoul off guard. And the wound under his abdomen was naturally penetrated by a tentacle made of mist during the confrontation with it, and he was almost seriously injured. Fortunately, he gritted his teeth and used a powerful skill in the territory, as well as his own life-saving tricks, to successfully repel this abyssal creature. Otherwise, at this moment, he might have returned to the west. After this battle, the ghouls lost a total of 7 heads, leaving only 3, and one of them was seriously injured. If you meet a more powerful abyss creature at this moment, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. Chen Fangu looked solemn. The sudden appearance of this abyssal creature disrupted all his original plans. Ahem. Chen Fangu suddenly covered his chest again and coughed violently. He spat out several mouthfuls of blood. No, you must heal quickly. He looked down at the pile of bones under his feet, and said in an ugly tone, these bones don't have much energy at all, they need fresh flesh and blood. Say it. His words were suddenly full of anger. How come it's been so long? Why hasn't the body been delivered yet? Are they all idiots? Wow, there was gusts of wind whistling on the left. Chen Fangu turned his head. With 2 limbs on the ground and a body length of about 5 or 6 meters, a ghoul about the size of a car appeared in front of his eyes. The torso and limbs of the ghoul are composed entirely of bones and half of rotting flesh. It just looks like an extremely disgusting feeling. Both ghouls held the corpses of 2 pig-headed men in their ferocious teeth. They put the body in front of Chen Fangu. Lowering his head slightly, he made a hoarse and terrifying voice. Lord, with a gloomy face, Chen Fangu said, go and guard the gate of the territory, and don't let any creatures approach. The 2 ghouls nodded. Then he turned around and disappeared here at an extremely fast speed. Before meeting the fallen, the power of the ghoul once made Chen Fangu's heart swell. Because the speed and aggressiveness of ghouls are far superior to those of the same level of abyssal creatures. A level 4 ghoul is enough to kill a level 5 pig-headed man across levels. Not to mention that ghouls also have a very heaven-defying ability. That is, by gnawing on the flesh or bones of other creatures, they can gain powerful resilience. Since the establishment of the territory, this ghoul army has been composed of 10 ghouls. Almost every battle every win. I didn't expect this change to come so suddenly. The ghouls were killed down to 3. When I reach the 10th level, I will take revenge. After Chen Fangu clenched his hands tightly. Turn your gaze to the 2 bloody corpses on the ground. It's not bad, it's a fresh soul. The body of the soul demon. Accompanied by the use of this trick's intermediate level 1 skill. Chen Fangu suddenly had sharp bone spurs all over his body. The bone spurs are white and transparent, and the cold light of the forest is refracted in the spikes. The scrawny Chen Fangu transformed from a human into a creepy monster in an instant. This is exactly his reincarnation race, the undead soul demon. Chen Fangu opened his mouth. Countless blue particles flew out from the 2 corpses. These particles slowly condense into 2 souls. The appearance of the soul is exactly that of a pig-headed man. At this moment, both souls turned their eyes white, obviously their sanity had already collapsed. If he doesn't make a move now, soon, the soul will also return to this abyss. Wow, a huge suction force arises from the mouth. The 2 souls were directly swallowed by Chen Fangu. After swallowing the souls of 2 level 4 pig-headed men, Chen Fangu's pale face showed a little blood. There was also satisfaction in his eyes. He lowered his head. The horrible little hole in the abdomen is recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. Flash is constantly reorganized and repaired. After about 10 seconds, the hole was intact. Ahem. Chen Fangu coughed. Although the external injuries have been repaired, some internal injuries in his body still need some time to recover. Then he covered his forehead with his right hand, and said in an extremely low voice, the attack of that abyssal creature also contained a trace of depraved power that could disturb the mind. Fortunately, my reincarnated race is the undead soul demon, otherwise I might be hit right now. Unexpectedly, there are such extremely strange creatures in the abyss. It seems that more caution is needed. If I had known this, I wouldn't have killed that ant first. I should let him develop a bit first, or at least wait until it has established a domain before doing anything to it. Before the protected area disappeared, he relied on the power of his own race and talent. Sneaked into other people's protected areas and killed many other reincarnators. And after the protected area disappears. On the other hand, he resolutely searched for the mark he had set before, found a reincarnated person, and killed him without mercy. Capture its experience points and items. The reincarnation he killed was only a few hundred experience points away from level 5. I knew that I would wait for it to establish a territory before doing anything to it. After all, killing a reincarnator who owns a territory can get more experience and item materials. It was also on the way for Chen Fangu to return to the fortress to recuperate. Above this piece of miasma-filled dry swamp, a dark green eyeball is suspended. With a deep glint, the eyeball swept in all directions. A moment later, he quietly escaped into the void again. Half an hour later, Fortress of Eternity, the necromancer knelt down to Luo Shang and said, "My lord, the following is all the information collected by the magic eye." He flicked his staff slightly. A blue ball of light flew out of the staff. "Look at the ball of light floating in front of you." Luo Shang thought slightly. The ball of light sank between his eyebrows. This sphere of light is all the information received by the magic eye. There was a pause. Wait for Luo Shang to open his eyes. Those deep purple magic pupils added a smile. What a coincidence. He was on the Abyss channel yesterday and saw news that there was a guy who specialized in hunting reincarnated beings wandering around the area he was in. I didn't expect the Lord to find out so soon. As for the reason why the opponent attacked the Fallen, he also learned from this information light sphere. The reason turned out to be that he wanted to kill the Fallen to see if he could produce special materials. In the end, stealing chickens failed to make a fortune, and instead, the fallen demon killed 7 arms. An epic 7th order reincarnation race is so rampant, hey. Luo Shang let out a disdainful sneer. Immediately afterwards, his eyes fell to the necromancer. "Pass on my order, within a day, I will make this ignorant wretch disappear into this abyss." "Yes, great my lord." The necromancer turned and retreated. Undead territory. Inside the fort, on a temple of the undead made of white bones, Chen Fangu, who didn't know that he was about to die, was sitting on a chair, thinking about what to do next. Nowadays, the internal combat power in the territory is scarce, and a few more ghouls must be summoned. He opened the exchange and browsed to buy the low-level abyssal souls needed to summon ghouls. Although he has consumed only 100 or so low-level crystals, it is more than enough to buy a few low-priced abyssal souls. After browsing several pages, Chen Fangu's expression became stiff. He immediately shouted, "What's going on? Why did the price suddenly increase so much?" If I remember correctly, at the previous market price, a strand of low-priced abyssal soul could only be sold for 3 or 4 low-grade crystals at most. Some even sell for a price of 1 or 2 yuan. And now, he scanned several pages in a row, and found that each strand of low-priced abyssal soul had risen back to 5 yuan. Although there are quite a few with a unit price of 3 yuan, you have to buy 10 strands together in order to follow the previous unit price. Naturally, he didn't know about Luo Shang's big acquisitions before. In addition, many people gradually realize that upgrading skills and other aspects are inseparable from the soul of the abyss. This also caused the price of low-level abyssal souls on the exchange to rebound to a certain extent. After all, Luo Shang basically bought out all the low-priced deep souls. Only the low-priced abyssal soul with an ordinary price is left. Calmed down a little ugly mood, Chen Fangu gritted his teeth and said, "The situation is not good now, so I can only buy a low-priced abyssal soul to summon ghouls." After purchasing a low-priced abyssal soul, he clicked on the summoning building. Now there are only 3 ghouls he can mobilize, and one of them is half disabled. You have to summon another one. The summoning panel just opened. Chen Fangu was about to click to summon a ghoul. The whole person suddenly stopped. What's going on? Why can't it be summoned? The options for summoning are all gray and white. He took a closer look, his face stiffened. I saw the number of low-level crystals in the upper right corner, showing 109 pieces. To summon a ghoul, in addition to a low-level abyssal soul and 10 rotting corpses, 110 low-level crystals are needed. I even missed one. Chen Fangu was furious, extremely angry. At the same time, outside the territory, a swampy land full of miasma and mist. Suddenly a skeleton creature emerged. The hollow eyes of these skeletal creatures burn with an eerie ghostly fire. They move forward slowly. The 2 ghouls sitting on the left and right sides of the entrance of the territory also quickly noticed the arrival of these skeleton creatures. Kill. A ghoul showed a bloody mouth. The sharp teeth are like blades all over the upper and lower jaws, extremely ferocious. The ghoul roared, and took the lead in killing the closest skeleton creatures. The sharp ghost claws can easily tear the 3 skeleton creatures in front of you into pieces. Also at this time, the right direction. A skeleton knight rushed forward. It held a rusty greatsword and slashed at the ghoul's body. Sparks flew. The terrifying power of this sword did not cut off the ghoul's bones as expected. The ghoul immediately turned around and clawed down again. Directly shoot this skeleton knight into pieces. In just a few seconds, the ghouls that dealt with the 4 skeleton creatures roared with their heads raised and their killing intent burst forth. Immediately, the 2 ghouls continued to wipe out the skeleton creatures that were besieged and killed at a speed visible to the naked eye. But when it was half killed, the 2 ghouls suddenly stopped moving. Roar! They turned their heads towards the place where the miasma was thickest in front of them, and let out extremely low growls. Ghouls are brutal and bloodthirsty by nature, but now they're looking. But the bodies of the 2 ghouls could be clearly seen, trembling visible to the naked eye. I saw it in the middle of the black and black skeleton creatures in front of me. 2 creatures in black robes floated. Under the black robe, a turbid mist outlines a soul shape, just like the Lord in Yellow in the Cthulhu myth. The one who came was the fallen demon. And the 2 ghouls still remember the fallen. With the extremely weird and overwhelming power before, even though the ghouls were irrational, they could emit instinctive fear. The limbs of the 2 ghouls continued to recede slowly, and their bloody mouths continued to let out a heavy and hoarse growl. Trying to yell at the other person. But this is clearly futile. The fallen and a group of skeleton creatures slowly approaching in a big way. The 2 ghouls retreated to the gate of the territory. They looked at each other in dismay, with countless strands of murderous intent blooming from their ferocious blood eyes. Chen Fangu's order was for them to stay here. They are naturally inviolable. Roar, accompanied by a high-pitched roar. With no way out, the 2 ghouls chose to fight. They charged swiftly, menacingly. Bang bang bang. The ghoul is like a mad buffalo, rampaging. The indestructible, ferocious bone smashed a small piece of skeleton creature in front of it. Ridiculous counterattack. A sinister sneer came from under the fallen man's black robe. The turbid mist turned into a tentacle. The tentacle stretched out, spanning a kilometer in an instant, stabbing straight at the ghoul. The ghoul who rushed to the front. I also feel the approach of death. Hastily raised his front paws and arms, interspersed with each other. Boom! This dull and loud noise shook the miasma in the surrounding fields. The huge impact immediately made the level 4 ghoul fly backwards. Crashed into a big tree 100 meters to the east. The big tree shook violently, and the thick trunk was almost cracked. The dying ghoul opened its mouth slightly, and with a murderous afterglow, it glanced at a rotting corpse on the ground. Trying to devour this corpse to recover from the serious injuries. And the next second, on the ground, another mist tentacle broke through the ground. The tentacle was as fast as the wind, and it pierced through the ghoul's head with one blow. As for the other ghoul, the situation is not much better. The ghoul quickly climbed to the canopy of a tree with its agility beyond ordinary abyssal creatures. Immediately, look at the timing. Just about to rush out. Wow, the fog rope formed by the condensed mist appears from the crown of the tree. With lightning speed, he bound the ghoul's hind paws. Waiting for the ghoul to look back. Another tentacle flew towards him, directly piercing through his head. Within a minute or so, both ghouls are dead. Bone Fortress. Chen Fangu, who was still full of anger on his front feet, was now full of panic and pale. What's going on? Why did the 2 ghouls die suddenly? He hastily cut out an interface. As the lord of the territory, he has the ability similar to the Eye of God, and can call up the pictures of every corner of the territory at any time. This is the power that every territory lord possesses. The called-out interface maps out a picture. And in the picture, it is the scene outside the territory at this moment. In the miasma-filled swamp, the black and white skeleton creatures staggered and attacked towards the gate of the territory. Seeing this full of skeleton creatures, Chen Fangu's expression turned ugly. What's going on? Where did these undead creatures come from? Chen Fangu moved his gaze again. But this shift made Chen Fangu's pupils shrink. Behind a piece of skeleton creatures, 6 figures in black robes floated. Chen Fangu is no stranger to this familiar figure. It was the fallen demon who killed him so horribly before. Hey, this is not true, this is fake. Chen Fengju's tone trembled to the extreme, and he couldn't believe that the picture in his eyes was real. Because what appeared in front of his eyes were a total of 6 fallen demons. One fallen demon is enough to make him feel frightened, and this time there are 6 directly. Even if he had 100 ghouls, it wouldn't be enough for the opponent to fight. The terrified Chen Fengju stared at the slowly approaching army in fear. The mouth kept murmuring, "This swamp has a miasma, no matter what abyssal creature enters it, it will be confused." Are they? Suddenly, it seemed that he suddenly remembered something. Chen Fengju was shocked and said, "Could it be that these are the arms of other reincarnated people?" But it's not right. Every territory has a hidden mechanism. If these are really sent by other reincarnations, how did the other party find their own territory? Wait, could it be the one before? Chen Fengju suddenly remembered the fallen who escaped before. I'm afraid that when the latter escaped, he left a hand and laid some imprint coordinates that he could not detect. Think here. Chen Fengju's heart sank to the bottom. Now the only unit he can mobilize is a seriously injured ghoul who is still waiting to recover. In addition, there are no soldiers available. And his own level has only barely reached level 6. What's more, the injury in the body has not completely disappeared. There are only 2 paths before him now. First, abandon the territory and choose to escape. The second is to choose to fight to the death. And if he chooses the former, if he chooses to sacrifice the territory, it is extremely difficult to rebuild a territory again. And if you escape now, you may not be able to escape. As for the second way, Chen Fengju opened the territory interface. He hesitated, looking at the function of the territory. Until it falls on the last function. Chen Fengju opened his eyes wide, as if he saw the hope of life. That's right. I almost forgot. I still have this trick. His gaze shifted immediately. On the right interface. Looking at the fallen demons and undead creatures in the picture, he showed a cold smile. You go ahead, I will let you all be buried here. Outside the territory, countless skeleton creatures raised their swords and slashed towards the closed door of the bone wall ahead. Get out of the way. Deep behind the skeleton army, there was a hoarse sound. The necromancer, holding a staff and staggering steps, appeared in full view. A group of skeleton creatures besieging the gate quickly retreated out of a path when they heard the order. There's even one more. Chen Fengju's eyes sank slightly. He also couldn't see the level of the necromancer, which also meant that the other party's level was higher than his own. But Chen Fengju was a little surprised that the opponent chose to let the mage attack the bone wall. Because of his bone wall, although the defense against physical attacks is not good, the defense against magic is surprisingly high. With the power of 6 fallen demons, attacking together is enough to destroy the bone wall where he is. But the former didn't do this, and instead let an abyss warlock appear on the stage. My own bone wall can resist the magic attacks of all abyssal creatures below level 10. Right now, these arms obviously have good intelligence, and he doesn't believe that the other party can't see it. It was also when Chen Fengju was thinking. The necromancer has already made his move. Holding the staff high, a brilliant spar in the center of the staff suddenly burst into countless rays of dazzling light. With a wave of his right hand, the mage swung his staff forward. In the space ahead, a dark green abyssal formation suddenly appeared. A gloom energy ball gradually condenses from the center of the abyss circle. Chen Fengju, who was watching this scene, seemed to have noticed something. His face changed suddenly. Wait. This power. The voice did not fall. A howling sound of tearing space suddenly swept over. Extremely violent thunder and lightning intertwined with red fire. This energy ball is extremely powerful. The thunder struck the bone wall. The seemingly indestructible bone wall cannot hold up even for a second. In an instant, it was shattered, and the towering gate was shattered together with the surrounding walls. Chen Fangu was stunned. Being able to break through the wall with magic power means that the necromancer's level has reached level 10. Possibly even higher. How is this possible? Even the top reincarnators on the current ranking list don't have a level 10. How can a mere unit have a level 10? Could it be that this is not a type of arms, but an ordinary abyssal creature? It was really hard for Chen Fengju to believe that a reincarnated person could summon this level of troops. After being shocked, Chen Fengju quickly shook his head with a firm expression. He gritted his teeth and said, whether you are a soldier or an abyssal creature, you fellows today will all become part of my immortal domain. Moment. Chen Fangu walked out of the bone fortress. His face was frosty, and he looked straight at the mighty skeleton creature that broke into his territory. This soul wave, he is an outsider. The goal of my lord. The fallen demon said in a low voice. Chen Fangu could naturally hear every word the other party said. Instantly, his limbs and bones were horrified. It really is the arms of other reincarnators. But he couldn't think of any reincarnation in the abyss now, who could summon such a high-level unit. Dare to ask your master's name, Chen Feng said coldly. It's ridiculous that an extremely weak outsider dares to ask my lord's name. A fallen man's words were filled with disdain. Immediately, the mist on the right condensed into tentacles, and swung violently towards Chen Fangu. Chen Fangu's expression changed suddenly, and he quickly cast his magic skills, Shield of Immortality. He took a few steps back and raised his hands. Countless strands of souls floated up from the ground. The souls gathered in one place and turned into a soul shield. Boom! It's a pity that the soul shield shattered in an instant. Chen Fangu flew upside down to the fortress wall, spitting out a mouthful of blood. What a powerful force! No wonder even ghouls were defeated by it, and not without reason. Even with his mid-level defensive skills, it was difficult to resist a blow. However, you are not qualified to kill me. Undead but reborn. Come out, the souls of the dead sleeping in this land. Chen Fangu roared. This, immortality and rebirth, is a powerful domain skill possessed by his undead domain. Once this skill is cast, it can awaken the souls of the abyss who have died on the occupied land to work for themselves. And last for half an hour. And this swamp of miasma is a huge grave for thousands of corpses, although the area occupied by his undead territory is very small. But it can also summon a certain number of souls from the abyss. The undead territory vibrated violently, as if it had ushered in an unprecedented earthquake. Crack! The ground shattered into dense cracks. The crack is so deep that you can't see your fingers. In full view, the souls of the abyss who died on this land in different shapes and forms slowly climbed out from this dark land. Just a minute, thousands of dead souls appeared on the territory. This thick abyssal force stretches for 10 miles around. Chen Fangu's eyes fell on this army of undead. The most powerful souls of the abyss. His face gradually showed a winning expression. I didn't expect to be asleep here, 3/10th level abyss dead souls. It's just a pity that the skill of undead soul can only summon dead souls no higher than the 5th level of itself. Otherwise there is no level restriction. Maybe he can summon a few powerful abyss dead souls above 10 levels. Destroy them for me, Chen Fangu roared loudly. The eyes are full of endless killing intent. After killing all these stupid intruders, he will have to pay a heavy price for the reincarnation behind him. Following the order, these dead souls rushed away brazenly. Their wisdom has long been worn down in the long river under the ravages of time. At this moment, their actions are driven by territorial skills. The necromancer uttered a secret word. A large number of skeleton creatures around them also rushed towards the army of undead. As for the remaining 6 fallen demons, they will face off among the dead souls, several souls whose strength is at the 8th or 9th level. Seeing that the battle had just begun, the undead army occupied the upper peak. Chen Fangu looked a little proud. He grinned and said, although I don't know how high your rank is, but treating me as your prey is the biggest mistake in your life. In the battlefield, among the 3/10th level dead souls, a 10th level abyss ghost in the form of a centaur, holding a gun in his left hand and a round shield in his right hand. Taking advantage of the other 2 10th level undead souls controlling the necromancer, the centaur rushed forward. The tip of the spear reflected an icy light, and a stern murderous aura surrounded the body of the spear. A shot stabbed out. Pong! Huge sparks flew in all directions. The centaur's eyes showed slight signs. I saw that the body of the necromancer was not pierced by the spear. Instead, the thorn fell on a thick knight armor. Another one. Chen Fangu, who stood behind watching the battle, frowned. The eternal fallen knight appeared in front of the necromancer at some unknown time. He rested his hands on the butt of the knight's sword. The tip of the sword rests on the ground, and the tall body stands still, like a tall tree. He let the centaur's lightning-fast spear stab at his armor. The centaur also noticed that the opponent who suddenly appeared in front of him was not simple. The two pairs of horse legs stepped back, trying to distance themselves from it. But it was at such a moment. But it happened to be caught by the eternal fallen knight. Stupid dead souls, return to the underworld. The eternal fallen knight made a high-pitched and thick male voice. Holding the hilt with both hands, he pulled out the knight's sword leaning on the ground. Abyss faith. The deep voice dropped like a finale. Thousands of strands of abyssal power spilled out from the eternally fallen knight's armor. Scarlet blood glowed from the cross slits on the helmet. The centaur also felt a sense of danger at such a moment. Instinct made his right arm raise the buckler in his hand. However, the centaur still underestimated the terrifying power of the sword of the eternal fallen knight. Boom! The ground that the eternal fallen knight stepped on was sunken and shattered, and he jumped out. That terrifying speed turned into a dark purple beam of light. Slash out with a sword. This incomparably thick round shield was like a crystal, and it shattered and splashed with a soft click. The sword broke through the shield, and cut to the half of the centaur's waist with one move. The centaur didn't even have time to react, and its body turned into a particle and dispersed. On the one hand, Chen Fangu's reaction was like a clay sculpture. What did he see? The eternal fallen knight, who had only played for less than a minute, killed one of his 10th level abyssal souls with a single sword. Chen Fangu, who found something wrong with the situation, shouted to the commanders of the undead army, "What are you doing in a daze? Let me besiege him first. Shino's dead souls, get orders. Quickly change the target and attack the eternal fallen knight." A pile of offal. The eternal fallen knight saw all directions in his eyes. Every time the sword was drawn, it took away a large group of dead souls surrounding him. The souls of the dead are as fragile as paper in front of the sharp knight's sword. It breaks when touched. Previously ordered by Chen Fangu to besiege the two 10th level abyss souls of the necromancer. The target was also shifted to the eternal fallen knight. The speed is fast. Two ghosts from the abyss came to the left and right sides of the eternally fallen knight respectively. Different from the centaur just now, these two abyss souls who reached the 10th level are both human swordsmen who fell into the abyss during their lifetime. Both hold swords. Seeing an opportunity, both of them raised their weapons in unison. Two incomparably fierce sword chi emanated from the two weapons respectively. The eternal fallen knight laughed endlessly at this. "Is that all? Let me teach you how to use a sword." He holds the knight's sword. Insert the huge sword body into the ground with one sword. The eternal abyss turned into my body armor. Thick black air was released from the sword. In just one breath, these black chi condensed into a shield covering the eternal fallen knight. Boom! The roar caused by the impact of these two sword chis was deafening and carried through to the ears. However, it was under such a violent attack. The shield was still motionless, without a trace of breaking. Although the eternal fallen knight is at the same 10th level as the two abyss souls. The souls of the two swordsmen saw this. He raised his sword and charged towards the eternal fallen knight. The flickering sword blade slashed at the shield. Clang! There was a crisp metallic echo. The shield and the fallen knight inside remained motionless, like an impregnable steel fortress. "It seems that your strength is only like this." The fallen knight raised his sword hilt. Wheeled a half-moon arc forcefully. With one strike, the two swordsmen were instantly split hundreds of meters away. Although the swordsman's dead soul was wearing fine iron armor painted with defensive spells, it was destroyed by such a terrifying force. Still suffered a great deal of trauma. A swordsman's armor had a large hole in its abdomen, and the armor plates on its limbs were also heavily damaged. But there was still no change in the swordsman's facial expression. After taking the attacking posture, the attack came. As said earlier, these souls from the abyss have no consciousness, only the instinct brought to them by orders. Chen Fangu no longer had the look of winning the game as before. He was cold at the moment. 3 10th level abyss souls can't beat one. This is simply outrageous. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes now, Chen Fangu couldn't believe it at all. Facing the two dead swordsmen who rushed up again. The fallen knight was naturally merciless. The two swords were cut out immediately. The two beams of corrupted sword light seemed to distort and devour the surrounding space. Cut to both. The two swordsmen hastily blocked in front of them with their swords horizontally. Boom! It was at the moment when the dead soul resisted the light of the sword. the eternally fallen knight who was still standing at the center point before. In the next second, he teleported to the back of a swordsman. Idiot, watch your back. Seeing this, Chen Fangu roared loudly. These 2 10th level abyssal souls are his last confidence now. If he dies, he is afraid that he will really die. The sword rises and the sword falls. The great sword of the fallen knight fell from an energy shield released from the swordsman's body. And this move only made the eternal fallen knight sneer hoarsely, useless struggle. The strength of the eternal fallen knight's arms holding the sword hilt suddenly increased several times. The energy shield that kept sputtering fierce sparks seemed to have reached a limit. With a click, the energy shield suddenly burst, turning into broken tiles and shooting out. This sword was about to cut the swordsman in half with one sword. After solving one, the eternal fallen knight raised his head, eyes full of cold murderous intent, and swept towards the remaining soul of a swordsman ahead. A group of idiots, so many people can't stop one of them. Chen Fangu, with an extremely dignified expression, said in a low heart, "No. You must escape, or you will die here sooner or later." Chen Fangu was very clear in his heart, knowing that the reincarnated person opposite him who had never met before would never save his life. Moment. All the dead souls in this bone territory were swept away. A fallen demon came to the side of the eternally fallen knight and whispered, "My lord, that outsider relied on the power of the territory and used a skill to slip away quietly." However, the observation eyes that were deployed in the surrounding fields of this miasma swamp have not found any traces of it. People should still be within these 10,000 meters. Need or not, no, he left it to me to solve it myself. You are in charge of this territory, the fallen knight said while turning his head. The line of sight sweeps to a direction. Just when he was fighting with 2 swordsman souls, he realized that the other party was about to flee. So without the former noticing, a small trick was played on him. Now every move of this outsider is within his perception. About half a minute, in a gray swamp forest with extremely low visibility, Chen Fangu's figure was like a predator constantly shuttling through the terrain. His face was pale, with traces of blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Has the core of the territory been destroyed so quickly? After each reincarnator establishes a territory, territories will produce something called the core of the territory. This core can be said to be the origin of the territory, where everything is rooted. As long as the core is destroyed, this territory is quite useless even if the buildings inside are intact. Certainly, no matter who is reincarnated, if he wants to seize the resources of another territory, the core must be destroyed. It seems that he wants to comfort himself. If the territory is gone, it will be gone. As long as the life is still alive, there is still a chance to make a comeback. Chen Fangu gritted his teeth and whispered in his heart. No matter what he said, he was also the proud son of heaven with double epic ranks. As long as you can live in insignificance for a while, everything will turn around. His top priority now is to get out of here as soon as possible. After Chen Fangu climbed over 3 swamps and mires in succession, he stopped abruptly. He quickly leaned his back against a tall tree. Immediately afterwards, a shocking vertical pupil opened from the back of the head. The eyes of the vertical pupil raised slightly, and looked not far away for a kilometer. An eyeball floating in the sky. The eyeballs are all emerald, emitting a dim light. Fortunately, my reincarnated race is this undead soul demon, and I have a certain keen awareness of undead spells, otherwise I may have been recruited at this moment. After talking to himself, Chen Fangu looked a little gloomy. The opponent obviously came prepared this time, and planted this detection spell on the border in advance. Which reincarnation is targeting me? If there is a chance in the future, Chen Fangu will definitely pay back 100 times the humiliation he has suffered today. After holding back the anger in my heart, Chen Fangu was going to draw the dangling eyeball away first. Now that life is at stake, if you want to continue to live, you can only make some relative sacrifices. Chen Fangu closed his eyes, raised his right hand. He straightened his 5 fingers, and poked his palm towards his chest. Accompanied by a snort, blood flowed. Chen Fangu opened his mouth. Strands of souls swallowed by him floated out of his mouth. At the same time, with Chen Fangu's level at the moment, his experience value is decreasing little by little. The body of the soul demon. Chen Fangu opened his closed eyes. These souls gathered by his side, unexpectedly gathered into a new body. This body is exactly the same as his appearance and temperament. Chen Fangu looked at this second body, composed of part of his soul experience, and said coldly, "Go." Yes. The eyeballs in midair instantly caught a figure. In order to keep track, the eyeballs moved and drifted towards the figure. And this scene naturally fell into Chen Fangu's eyes. See here. Chen Fangu narrowed his eyes. It's now. The avatar successfully attracted the attention. This is the best time for him to escape. Chen Fangu walked out from under the big tree, and was about to escape from the swampy land in one go. Wow! The ear-piercing sound of broken clouds made Chen Fang couldn't help but look up. And this look made Chen Fangu stand still in an instant. I saw a purple meteor in the rear cut through the thick mist and miasma. Boom! The ground shook violently, and the meteor finally landed on a huge rock tens of meters in front of Chen Fangu. This is. After Chen Fangu saw the true face of meteor, his face changed visibly with the naked eye. A knight's sword completely plunged into the darkness of the abyss, standing on the cracked ground. As for this sword, Chen Fangu couldn't be more familiar with it. The owner of this sword is the Dark Knights. How is it possible? How could the other party know where I am now? Chen Fang was extremely flustered. What's more, didn't my avatar just now attracted that eyeball away? The other party is. Never mind. Chen Fangu shook his head and stopped thinking about it. Now he can't care less about it. Escape birth genius is the top priority. But the former's voice just fell. Outsider, do you think you can escape from my palm? The thick and hoarse accent rose high. Chen Fangu, who stood up with a chill all over, turned his head stiffly. The miasma behind him faded away under a strong pressure. The tall, eternally fallen knight stepped out step by step. Full of pressure, with his hands behind his back, the slit under the helmet could faintly see the cold blood. Chen Fangu's heart was filled with fear. He moved his feet back step by step. Can you ask the reincarnated person behind you to come out and have a look? I think there are many things between us that can be said in person. Chen Feng laughed stiffly. Just because of you, you also want to have the qualifications to talk to our lord. It's ridiculous. You are not even worthy of kneeling before my lord. The fallen knight sneered and raised his right hand. The knight's sword inserted on the ground was directly twitched by a powerful thought. There was a crash. The knight's sword flew to the palm of the eternally fallen knight. The eternally fallen knight raised his sword and slashed at Chen Fangu. Chen Fangu, who was terrified, raised his hands to block in front, the wall of the soul demon. Many strands of soul spewed out from Chen Fangu's mouth. Then it turned into a soul wall overflowing with dim light to block in front of him. But the result is obvious. The terrifying sword energy of the eternal fallen knight cut Chen Fangu's soul wall to pieces in an instant. And cut off his physical body at the waist. The eternally fallen knight, who thought he could kill the opponent with a single sword, was just about to put away the knight's sword. After discovering that Chen Fangu was cut in half by himself. There was no bleeding from the wound, instead wisps of soul power split out. These soul powers seemed to turn into threading needles, trying to stitch the horrible wound together. Rebirth after dying, is it the power of racial innate power? Fallen Knight was not too surprised. After saying a word, he walked to the dying Chen Fangu. Chen Fangu's dull eyes were full of fear. He looked at the ridiculously perverted reincarnated soldier in front of him. Even if you look at the entire Wanji channel, there are very few reincarnators who can have this level of arms. No, not even a single one. After all, according to the top reincarnators on the ranking list, their levels are also, etc., seems to have found something terribly frightening. Chen Fangu's pupils contracted to the extreme. Could it be your master? The moment he was about to utter that word, the cold light flickered. The eternal fallen knight took off Chen Fangu's head with a sword. The undead soul demon, a special epic race, has the ability to be infinitely close to resurrection. But this ability is not resurrection after all. Only when one's own soul is in a state of abundance can the effect of returning the dead be achieved. However, part of the soul power released by Chen Fangu's move to create the avatar just now directly ruined the possibility of this skill. A lowly alien from another world is not worthy of mentioning the true name of our Lord. The eternal fallen knight said coldly to his head. Then with 5 fingers, pinch that head into a blood mist. Fortress of Eternity. You successfully killed a level 6 reincarnator, and destroyed the opponent's territory, and are obtaining resources for your settlement. Is it resolved? It's within the expected time. Luo Shang opened his eyes and raised his eyebrows. It is detected that the current environment is suitable for using the talent, and the talent, Supreme Favor, is being used. Congratulations on obtaining 3000 experience points, Rotting Corpse 10, lower level 1, Death Hand Scroll 5, lower level 9 level. Only 3000 experience points. Luo Shang whispered. According to his original expectation, he killed a 6th level reincarnator. Coupled with the increase of Supreme Favor, you should be able to get 5000 experience points. Forget it. Fortunately, there are quite a lot of crystals and abyssal souls. Chen Fangu's own spar and abyssal soul have been exhausted. But after destroying its territory, it can get a lot of crystals and souls. After Luo Shang counted some items. This is. He raised his eyebrows, and he clicked on the profile of an item. Key of the Undead. Level. Special. Introduction. An undead from the upper layers of the abyss left behind a treasure on the first floor, and this key will be the key to unlock the treasure. The treasure of the undead. I didn't expect the other party to have such an item. Talking. Luo Shang had a thought. A piece of black is not slippery, but there is obviously a key-shaped key emerging from the palm. Although this may be a great opportunity, but the location of the treasure. Luo Shang shrugged. This is not written off. If I had known earlier, I would let the fallen knight save the other party's life. Forget it. Put this thing aside for now. He opened apart from this special item, and another item that was regarded as the most precious item among all the items. Death Totem. Level. Intermediate level 9. Introduction. Made by the High Priest Caesar who lives in the land of the dead, it has extraordinary power of life and death. Effect. Totem summoning consumes 1000 low-level crystals to randomly summon a unit ranging from level 5 to level 15 to serve, and the unit building will have the ability to summon this unit. Note. The user level needs to reach level 15. There was a little doubt in Luo Shang's mind before, after seeing the comment on the last line. Some suddenly realized. It's no wonder that the reincarnated person didn't use this thing. It seems that this level limit restricted him. But it's cheap for me. Without further hesitation, Luo Shang immediately consumed 1000 low-level crystals and summoned them. The palm-sized death totem that resembled tree bark floated into the air. The red light of the totem overflowed, and a touch of abyssal power called out from it. It is detected that the current environment is suitable for the use of talent, and the talent, Supreme Favor, is being used. Immediately afterwards, the totem opened a space crack. The great and supreme Lord of the Abyss, being summoned by you is the greatest honor in my life. A voice of reverence came from the crack. Luo Shang immediately saw this new unit summoned from the death totem. This is a werewolf. The shadow hunter is nearly 3 meters tall, and his posture can be described as burly and sturdy. He held 2 half-moon knives in both hands, and the strong killing intent was naturally formed, lingering around. The shadow hunter knelt down on one knee in front of Luo Shang, with a fierce beast face, showing respect. And Luo Shang looked at the information of this unit. Shadow Hunter. Level. 15. Trust level. 100. Absolute loyalty. Skills. Escape Shadow, Intermediate level 9, Dark Peep, Intermediate level 5, Blood Draining Blade, Intermediate level 3. Introduction. A leader from the Shadow Wolf clan, a cold killer in the shadow of the abyss. It's not bad at the 15th level, and it's a big strength. Coupled with the existence of Lilith, with his current strength, he can basically easily wipe out the monsters around him. After letting the Shadow Hunter back down, Luo Shang sat on the throne and opened the Wanji channel. Vomited. This level is too difficult to raise. I have worked so hard to kill almost 100 slimes, and I am still more than half away from the 4th level. Ethel Continent. Brothers upstairs, you don't have much experience in 1st and 2nd level slimes, you have time to kill so many slimes, why not kill a higher level slime? I just couldn't beat other monsters, so I killed slime. Crying.jpg Ethel Continental. Is there a boss in the Flying Dragon Forest in the southern part of Fattest Continent? Please bring me, I can get a low level 9th level item as a reward. Fatty's Continent. The reincarnation near the Wind Valley of the Dragon Continent, Who wants to subdue the multi-eyed titan? Add me. Note: the level should not be lower than level 4. Dragon Continent. Gar Continent Thunder Sword Alliance is officially recruiting. There are many benefits for those who join the alliance, and the members of the alliance are from all walks of life. Benefit 1. Joiners can not only be assisted by resources within the alliance, but also be supported by powerful reincarnations. Benefit 2. This alliance is already a large-scale alliance, with functions such as alliance fair trade and alliance points exchange. Benefit 3. There are already 13 6th-level reincarnators in this alliance, and the president is one of the top 100 on the ranking list, with guaranteed strength. Accompanied by this recruitment information, countless pieces of information flew out below. Thunder Sword Alliance sounds pretty good. I don't know if the conditions for joining the alliance are strict or not. Don't think about it upstairs. The Thunder Sword Alliance posted it on my world channel before. Their recruitment requirements are not low. They need to be above level 3, and one of the reincarnation race or talent must be above elite level 6. It's so high. Otherwise, do you think that these large leagues are now living for nothing? That is, even some small leagues don't want extremely low level. Luo Shang looked at these quietly. His eyes still did not fluctuate in the slightest. A few days after the barrier of the reserve disappeared, the trend of discussion on the channel has also changed from how to survive and ask for help at the beginning, to trading, intelligence, and even teaming up to fight monsters together. As for the channel, Luo Shang watches it several times a day. Doing this is mainly to see if there is any useful information for yourself. After a few glances, he switched to the Abyss channel. The information in the Abyss channel, in addition to the alliance recruiting and forming a team, is to discuss things about the first layer of the Abyss. But as soon as Luo Shang opened the Abyss channel, he saw a piece of news that made him very interesting. Happy everyone. A guy who kept attacking and killing all kinds of reincarnations in the outer area of the Abyss was slaughtered. The upstairs is talking about the reincarnation of the undead soul demon. Good. I'm going so 6. I remember that guy reached level 6 and established a territory. I don't know which big boss can actually kill this guy. I don't know about this, but if you can kill a reincarnation with double epics, the shooter's level should be 8th. Anyway, well done. Relying on its own high level, that dog often sneaks up on reincarnators and fights against people. It likes to play some dark and dirty tricks. It's really disgusting. Hey, everyone upstairs is treating me as a hero. This is not suitable. What if the other party just happened to meet the other party and killed him? Maybe the other party, like the former, is also a murderer without blinking an eye. One look at the thimble, identified as the keyboard brother who went upstairs. Look at the speeches of many people. Luo Shang smiled lightly, and didn't have anything to say. He was about to swipe up to see if there was any useful news. Eternal Night Alliance is recruiting new members again, as long as there are reincarnation races or reincarnations with talents above the 9th level of epic to join our alliance. But there is a huge gap in the strength of the two sides. As the exclusive Knight of the Holy See in the past, the Eternal Fallen Knight has far superior magic power and physical quality than other swordsmen. Especially under the blessing of the increase in the skill of abyssal faith. Its true strength is comparable to ordinary abyss creatures of the 11th and 2nd ranks. Chapter 51. Not only will you get the vigorous cultivation and resource orientation of our alliance, but you can also directly receive the Seal of Desire bestowed by the President himself. And you can also upgrade yourself to a senior member, and have the opportunity to get the latest information about your area at the first time. Details of the Evernight Alliance. Eternal Night Alliance. If I remember correctly, it was founded by the previous one called Lin Yi. Luo Shang clicked on the details behind that message. A new interface pops up. There is a lot of information written on it. A large alliance, and the number of people joining has already exceeded 20,000. There are quite a few people. Although this number of people is very small in the large alliances of all parties in the Wanji channel today. However, the conditions for joining the Eternal Night Alliance are much higher than those of other alliances. Each of the 20,000 people has the lowest epic level reincarnation race or talent. Said with no exaggeration, now the Eternal Night Alliance can be regarded as the most powerful alliance in this abyss. But for the ever-rising Evernight Alliance, Luo Shang couldn't arouse the slightest interest. In the past few days, he has been receiving invitations from various major alliances. Some large alliances even made promises that as long as they could join, they would directly transfer the position of president to themselves. But now he really has no interest in this so-called alliance. After swiping a few times, I didn't see any useful information. Luo Shang then closed the interface. The interface also happened to be closed, and a message popped up that made him extremely happy. Congratulations on your promotion to level 17. So you killed 3 10th level goblins. No wonder the experience has increased so much all of a sudden. Out of the corner of Luo Shang's eye, he flicked to the right corner. Your hero unit, Lilith Chesia, killed a level 9 dark goblin berserker and gained 200 experience points. Your hero unit, Lilith Chesia, killed a level 9. It's only the last 3 levels now, Luo Shang said lightly. Except for a few arms that protect the periphery of the territory, the other arms are sent by him to hunt everywhere. He can get experience points ranging from 5,000 to 6,000 or 7,000 points every day. And at this speed, in almost half a month, he will be able to advance to level 20. However, if we add the goblin tribes that Lilith wiped out, the time should be shortened by half. He smiled. This is the horror of the special talent of supreme favor, even if the abyss creature is not killed by himself, as long as it is killed by his own unit. The highest talent can also be activated, and it is allocated to oneself according to the highest experience value. A tribe of dark goblins reduced to a sea of flames. The dark goblin chief knelt down on the ground, tremblingly said, "We are willing to surrender, please." PFF. It was cold and cold. The head of the dark goblin chief rolled to the ground with blood. Standing in front of him was a woman with the face of an angel and the figure of a devil. Such a lowly race wants to serve the supreme lord of the abyss. Your dirty and humble blood will only tarnish the real name of the lord, Lilith said coldly, staring at the corpse with a pair of deep and cold eyes. Yan's eyes are full of contempt and sarcasm. She turned around. There are 4 places left. Raising his head, 3 pairs of gorgeous and noble fallen angel wings spread out from his back. Lilith soared into the sky and moved towards the next goal. And on the other side, Kitu lost contact. I'm afraid it's more ominous. Kwang Wu sat on the chief's seat. He was wearing a thick silver armor, his eyes were red, and his tone was low. The abyss has always been dangerous, often seeing fights between one race and another. Therefore, the major dark goblin tribes actually have relative information contacts. Now it is accompanied by the demise of the previous goblin tribes. The rest of the dark goblin tribe also knew that someone was deliberately targeting them. Now Kitu's death made Kwang Wu feel extremely heavy. Half an hour ago, he had also contacted the other party. Today the former has completely lost contact. To be able to pinpoint the location of the dark tribes of all parties so accurately, could it be that the attackers are those aliens? Kwang Wu whispered. After all, he shook his head again. Called a dark goblin priest with the highest rank in the tribe. So far, have any unknown creatures been found close to the range of the tribe? Great Chief, the Eye of the Void has not detected any abnormal movement around here. The dark goblin priest saluted and said softly. That's good. Kwang Wu took a deep breath. Let all goblins put on the highest alert, and all the magic circles at the city wall will be opened. Yes. The dark goblin priest turned around and wanted to leave here. Boom. First, there was a deafening roar, and then the huge dark goblin tribe shook violently. Kwang Wu stood up abruptly, his face paled in shock. What's going on? The goblin priest on the side suddenly sensed something. The old face suddenly changed color. The chief is not good. The Eye of the Void was suddenly destroyed by an inexplicable force. Outside world, tribe center location. Dozens of dark goblins stood on the edge of a deep pit with weapons in hand. They just saw a flash of light, which suddenly smashed into the ground with lightning speed. Wait for the dust and mist in the deep pit to dissipate. All the goblins only saw a graceful phantom. There are 3 pairs of huge wings on the back of the phantom. They froze for a moment. Fall into the abyss of eternity, you. Before the goblins reacted, the earth on which their respective feet trod. Suddenly, dark purple magic hands appeared. These big hands grabbed it hard. Immediately crush all the goblins. Turned into a blood mist. Kwang Wu, who had just walked out of the camp, naturally also took this shocking scene into his eyes. His eyes were wide open, staring at the deep pit ahead. Lilith also slowly flew up from the pit. Lilith's eyes are like ice-cold blades, her black hair is light, and her 6 wings are spread high, if she can cover the entire sky. The moment the blood power from the absolute high-ranking position was just released, it made the wild face that was originally full of anger feel like a rest in an instant. How is this possible? Kwang Wu trembled, his pupils contracted into needles. It was the first time he felt such an absolute blood pressure. How could there be such a high-level existence on the first floor of a small abyss? And black wings. It instantly reminded him of a top race that only existed in the upper layers of the abyss. Fallen angel, seraphim, how could such an uncrowned race that surpasses most of the abyss come to the first level of the abyss? Kwang Wu was trembling in his heart, his fighting spirit had already disappeared from his whole body. The huge suppression of this race alone made him feel the huge gap between himself and the opponent. Kwang Wu knelt down on one knee, and said in a low voice, "The most noble fallen angel, I don't know why you have come to your small tribe." Lilith whispered, "You don't need to know. You just need to obediently become part of the cornerstone of the Lord's ascension to the abyss. This is also the greatest gift the Lord has given you." The voice fell. Lilith waved her right arm lightly. A pitch-black half-moon arc blade slashed towards Kwang Wu immediately. Kwang Wu was shocked and wanted to stand up to defend. But at some point, an unprecedented gravity pressed on both sides of his shoulders. Let Kwang Wu be unable to stand up for a while. Even the goblin priest next to Kwang Wu was the same. They could only watch helplessly as the arc blade that pierced the eyes quickly slashed towards him. Wow! Kwang Wu, the goblin chief who had reached the 14th level, was chopped off along with the silver armor on his body. The huge body was split in two. Blood spilled all over the place. The goblin priest's eyes trembled as he looked at the chief who had been beheaded with a single blow. From the corner of the eye, he looked at the terrifying figure like a demon god. Pavilion. The voice did not fall. A magic hand emerged from the ground, grabbed it, and then pinched it with 5 fingers. Squeeze it into a cloud of blood mist. After solving both, Lilith looked up at the sky. He said lightly, "Time is limited, so let's speed up a little." Lilith smiled slightly. "Being granted the blood curse by me is the highest honor that even those abyssal creatures in the upper realm can only dream of." The left arm was raised slightly high, the devil conceals the spirits. In the palm, a blood-colored ball was born. I saw bursts of blood coming from all directions. These blood gas finally remit to a point of the sphere. Crack! There was a crisp sound on the surface of the ball. Accompanied by cracks appeared on the surface of the sphere. When the surface of the sphere is completely broken, an incomparably penetrating demonic vertical pupil is revealed in sight. The vertical pupil hangs in the palm of the hand, and the shocking bloodshot eyes of the magic pupil give people a creepy feeling. Clatter! Numerous blood-colored rays shot out from the pupils. And all the dark goblins illuminated by this light suddenly half-kneeled on the ground. The weapon in hand fell. Their faces were full of pain, and their eyes showed a hideous and tormented look that was visible to the naked eye. Some dark goblins were lying on the ground, rolling back and forth, and holding their heads in their hands, trying to get rid of some kind of pain. But this is obviously futile. PFF. The sound of flesh breaking broke the dead silence. A dark goblin's back was poked open. Bright red blood splashed several meters high like a fountain. I see. An abyssal demon crawled out of the dark goblin's body. The demon looks ugly and ferocious, with a pair of fleshy wings growing from its back, and its tail curled up like a long scorpion tail. That's it. Under Lilith's gaze, all the goblins in this tribe turned into terrifying demons. Almighty Lord, thank you for calling us out. A demon flew in front of Lilith, bowed his head and said respectfully, "The remaining goblin tribes will be handed over to you." Lilith crossed her arms and said condescendingly, "Obey, Lord Almighty." The leading demon turned around and transmitted sound to the countless demons on the ground. Immediately, all the demons turned into afterimages and left this place. Lilith watched all of this. Turning her head, those charming eyes looked to a direction in the east. The corner of her mouth curled up. "Let's go. Do lowly think they can escape my palm?" The 6 wings moved slightly. Lilith is fleeting. And 5 or 6 kilometers away from here, above a forest of blood, A burly birdman with a pair of huge fleshy wings was flying through the air at high speed. Birdman's eyes were red and bloodshot. As he was flying, he couldn't help but glance behind him out of the corner of his eye. Seraphim, I didn't expect someone from another world to be able to summon an existence of this level. I have to report this matter to my master. Birdman whispered in his heart. Especially in the scene where the other party used goblins as sacrifices just now, and summoned the scene from the upper-level demons. It made him even more convinced of Lilith's identity as a fallen angel. After all, in places like the first floor of the abyss, demons can be easily summoned, and there are still such a large number of demons. At the first level of the abyss, no reincarnated race can do it. Only troops from other outsiders can achieve this level. When Birdman was about to cross a small mountain range ahead. Where do you want to go? The lowly scum. A heart-wrenching soft voice came. Birdman stopped suddenly. His horrified eyes followed the direction of the sound source and turned to the right. The space set off water ripples. This feeling is indeed the summoned arms of other outsiders. Lilith walked out of the space slowly. Every movement of her is incomparably charming. But this falls in the eyes of Birdman. Lilith, on the other hand, seems to be a great terror that cannot be touched and cannot be seen. Make the spirit tremble. Lilith smiled slightly. Want to escape? Can you escape? Seeing the Birdman, she turned around decisively and tried to escape. Thoughts arise. In the southeast, northwest and 4 directions centered on the Birdman, a piece of fallen angel's feather floated down. Zzz. Fallen angel feathers. Countless black thunders were immediately aroused on the black surface. The thunder lingered in the air, blooming a blazing thunder power. Moment. 4 black lightning ropes shot out from the 4 feathers. Directly and swiftly, the limbs of the Birdman who wanted to escape were firmly locked in the air. Birdman looked flustered. He struggled vigorously with his limbs, but the chains seemed to be attached to his skin. No matter what he did, the chains were locked tightly. Lilith slowly floated in front of the opponent, staring at each other coldly. Birdman also only felt bursts of icy chill rising up and down in his body. Although his bloodline surpassed most of the races on the first level of the abyss, he was as weak as a chicken in front of this seraphim. What do you want to do? Birdman's tone trembled. You'll find out soon enough. Lilith raised her left hand. Align the palm with the Birdman's head. Clatter. The arms are basically 100% loyal to the master of the territory. Lilith knew that the other party would not betray her master, so she chose to forcibly invade her spiritual interior. Birdman, whose level was more than half lower than Lilith's, was naturally unable to resist Lilith's spiritual invasion. Moment. Lilith opened her eyes, and the corners of her mouth curled up. I found it. Out of the corner of her eye, she glanced at the Birdman who was stupefied and looked like a fool. With a disdainful smile, go to hell. The 4 black thunder chains released a terrifying thunderous majesty. In the blink of an eye, the Birdman's body was turned into a piece of coke. My lord will definitely be very satisfied with this information. After dealing with the Birdman, Lilith flew towards the territory. Fortress of Eternity. Your hero unit, Lilith Chesia, killed a level 6 dark goblin shooter and gained 100 experience points. The killing speed is suddenly much faster than before. Is Lilith using some large-scale spell? Luo Shang just finished speaking. He noticed a tremor in the space ahead. Next second, Lilith walked out of it. She knelt down on one knee and made a very respectful voice. Lilith Chesia greets the Supreme Lord. Is everything over so quickly? Luo Shang spoke. Lilith replied softly. It's still close, but within 3 minutes, the demons summoned by this subordinate will completely clean up the remaining dark goblin tribes. Please rest assured, my lord. Hear, hear. Luo Shang suddenly realized something. No wonder Lilith appeared here, and there were endless kill messages popping up. It turned out that Lilith summoned the devil to help. Is there anything to report? Luo Shang looked at Lilith and said. Lilith nodded slightly, and replied, after solving a dark goblin tribe, I found a unit from another outsider peeping in the distance. Other outsiders. The word, outsider, instantly aroused Luo Shang's interest. And then, subordinates. Lilith told Luo Shang everything that happened. Luo Shang nodded. Then do you know where the other party's territory is? Reporting to the Lord, according to the memory of that unit, the subordinates know that the opponent's territory is about 20 miles away from this place, and the direction is located in the southeast, on the back of the distant forest. Lilith said softly. I see. The level of the outsider is only level 6, do you need your subordinates to lead someone to destroy the other party? Lilith volunteered. Don't worry, Luo Shang said calmly, resting his chin on his right hand. Lilith understands. At the same time, in the middle of a territory built on the mountainside. A huge bird-shaped bunker. Contact is completely lost. Ulin, who is the lord of this place, has an ugly face at this moment. Just because of the falcon he sent to a remote place to scout the situation not long ago. Just now, I suddenly disconnected from myself. Immediately afterwards, he saw the death of Falcon on the line of troops. Falcon has a very powerful spiritual communication power, as long as a minute. You can quickly pass on information to yourself. But at this moment, Falcon died suddenly without even sending any information. In such a scenario, there is only one possibility. Falcon encounters an extremely powerful creature from the abyss. This abyssal creature was so powerful that the falcon didn't even have the speed to react, so it was killed in an instant. What kind of creature moved the hand? Ulin Yan spoke hoarsely. Although the falcon's attack power is lower than that of ordinary abyssal creatures of the same level, its flying speed is extremely fast. It can even be compared to 11th and 2nd level bird creatures. This is also an important factor why he dared to send the falcon to scout the situation in the distance. Being able to kill the falcon, the murderer is most likely also a flying abyssal creature. Of course, there is another possibility. It was the hands of other reincarnations. And just thought of this other possibility in my mind. Ulin shook his head violently. Impossible. Although the abyss is one of the worlds with the highest overall level of reincarnation in all the major worlds today. But there are very few who have reached the 5th level. And there are very few reincarnators above level 6. And among them, many of the reincarnators above level 6 are in the Eternal Night Alliance where he belongs. Alliance members have protection mechanisms for each other, and it is impossible to do anything to themselves. And in this Outlander, the first level of the abyss, it is hard for him to believe that there is a level of reincarnation, who can reach level 7 or even level 8 or 9. The reason why he was able to reach level 6 was due to factors such as his own race and talent. It is to rely on a large amount of resources in the Alliance to supply. After all, there are many Alliance rules in the Evernight Alliance, but the first Iron Rule is still the supremacy of rank. And he also happened to belong to the elite of the first cohort in the league, and he was deeply appreciated by Chairman Lin Yi, which is why he was able to get a lot of resources. Falcon's death. Wait for a while to investigate. Now he is only 2/5 away from upgrading the territory to the 2nd level. It will not be too late to seek revenge after the territory is successfully promoted to the 2nd level. At present, his task is still to focus on wretched development. Never ruin the whole chess game for the life of one unit. What Ulin Shu didn't know was, it was the other reincarnation that he thought was absolutely impossible to kill Falcon. 2 days later, the materials for the 3rd level upgrade of the territory are almost collected, and now we only need to upgrade the level to 25. Luo Shang said lightly, but before that, he felt that it was necessary to increase the number of arms. He opened the summoning interface. In addition to Fallen, Eternal Fallen Knight, and Necromancer, his current army has added a Shadow Hunter. The summoning requirement of a Shadow Hunter is 500 low-level crystals and 10 low-level abyssal souls, which are the same number as knights and undead. However, in addition to this, 10 copies of the blood of the Shadow Wolf have been added. The blood of the Shadow Wolf can only be produced by the Shadow Wolf. So for this reason, Luo Shang asked several teams to find several habitats of Shadow Wolves to kill materials not long ago. Now he has a total of more than 230 copies of the blood of the Shadow Wolf, and he can summon 23 Shadow Hunters. But if they are all summoned together, his resources are definitely not enough to summon other arms. Finally, after thinking for a while, Luo Shang chose yes. 50 fallen demons, 10 eternally fallen knights, 10 necromancers, and 10 shadow hunters. Although the level of the fallen demons is far lower than the first 3, they still have a lot of help for the expansion of the territory in the early stage. And the reason for the low price of summoning can save a lot of resources. Opening square bracket exclamation mark. Another world announcement. When Luo Shang saw the exclamation mark, he was stunned for a moment. Open immediately. The Abyss channel interface pops up. Abyss announcement. Introduction. 1 hour later, 3 abyssal tides will erupt on the first floor of the Abyss and last for 2 days. The tides will cause all abyssal creatures below level 15 to be killed and attack all reincarnated people. Note: the higher the level of reincarnation, the more abyssal creatures will be attracted. The tide of the Abyss, is it similar to the tide of beasts in other worlds? Luo Shang murmured. He watched the Myriad Worlds channel before and saw that people from other worlds made similar announcements. But other peoples are basically called Beast Tide. After putting away the announcement, Luo Shang's eyes fell on the Abyss channel. Abyss Tide, what the hell is this? It's really over now. I'm only at level 3, and I haven't even built a territory. I'm afraid I'm going to be torn to pieces by these monsters. I'm only at level 1 so far, you are much better than me, big brother upstairs. Is the upstairs brother real or fake? Level 1. Why are you lying to me? My reincarnated race is a rotten bird, which is not aggressive at all. I can't peck a pig-headed man to death for a long time, but I can only kill some cubs of abyssal creatures. Level screenshot, JPG. When the screenshot was released, it can be said that a large group of people were shocked. Strong. Big brother has great perseverance, the first level has survived until now. 6. Worship. Master of Abyss survival belongs to yes. After a few shocking words, they were soon overwhelmed by the topic of how to deal with this abyssal tide. The number of reincarnations in the Abyss is significantly higher than the number of reincarnations in the major worlds. And in this huge amount, nearly 80% of the reincarnators didn't even have level 5. So this abyssal tide is undoubtedly a catastrophe of life and death for them. Because reincarnations with territories can summon arms to defend, but reincarnations without territories. On his own, unless he hides in an extremely safe place, it is difficult to have a chance of survival. So Luo Shang saw that many reincarnators expressed their willingness to form an alliance on the channel, or join other reincarnated territories. Outland on the south side of the first floor of the Abyss, near the Bermuda Blood Forest, if you want to join me, there are already 17 people. Which big brother sister can provide the shelter of the territory? I can hand in all the low-level crystals and low-level abyssal souls I have obtained. Outland in the north, near the Longsha Abyss, join together and ask for help. Asylum is open in various territories of the Blood God Alliance. Entrants only need to pay 5,000 low-level crystals and 100 low-level abyssal souls. The corners of Luo Shang's lips curled up slightly. It seems that many people have also found business opportunities. The major alliances in the Abyss naturally take a fancy to the fact that most people are below level 5 and cannot establish territories. So let all members of the alliance who have reached the 5th level open their territories and harvest the pockets of those who want to live and reincarnate. If you want to enter the territory to obtain asylum, you must pay a certain price. I believe that if you want to live, you will agree. Luo Shang then saw that the largest alliance in the Abyss, including the Evernight Alliance, also sent a message of asylum. Take a cursory look. After he put away the interface. He doesn't have the habit of being a virgin, nor does he want to make money by doing so. Luo Shang sent the soldiers who had just been summoned from the demon god's desire field to garrison all sides of the territory. At the same time, let the various teams performing the task quickly return to the territory, waiting for the arrival of the tide of the Abyss. After all, the strength of this abyssal tide is still unknown. So Luo Shang naturally wouldn't be careless. Same. All the reincarnated people on the first floor of the Abyss also entered a state of readiness. Because no one knows what will happen to this abyssal tide. Time passed little by little. Until an hour later. The center of the first floor of the Abyss. Wow, wow, wow. The power of countless abysses surged up. Immediately afterwards, a series of abyssal tides that were hard to see with the naked eye quickly formed. The tide is rolling like a tsunami. Sweep in all directions. The speed was fast, and the tide quickly covered one piece of land after another. Even the vast sky was not spared. A few minutes later, the tide of the Abyss completely swept across the entire layer of the Abyss. And everything is as shown in the Abyss announcement. Abyssal creatures that are affected by the tide and are below level 15. They all lost their minds and leaned towards the outsider who was closest to them. For a while, news from the Abyss channel flew. The frightened, dismissive. Inside the Fort of Eternity, Luo Shang sat on the throne as always. In front of him, many interfaces appear. The picture in the interface is just around the territory. This moment, the 4 directions of the territory are all guarded by heavy troops. Sure enough, there are quite a few. It seems that it is because of my level. Luo Shang smiled slightly. I saw it on all sides. The vast army of the Abyss is attacking the territory. These armies are composed of abyssal creatures of different races. From the abyssal creatures above level 5, down to level 1 abyssal creatures. It can be said that the number is extremely large. There is only one thought in the minds of these creatures at the moment. That is to destroy all creatures in the territory not far away. Compared with the abyssal creatures walking on the ground, the flying abyssal creatures have quickly approached within a kilometer of their territory. However, these bird abyss creatures covering the sky have not had time to attack. From the territory, densely packed sharp arrows suddenly flew out. Thousands of sharp arrows poured down like a torrential rain, stabbing at these uninvited guests in midair. And the archers, take a look from afar. It was the rows of skeleton shooters standing around the border of the territory. Holding a curved bow, the skeleton archer stared intently at these abyssal creatures. After shooting 1 round, he quickly prepared to launch a second round of offensive. %**%**. All the necromancers in the southeast, northwest, and 4 directions chanted spells at the same time. Called by the undead, endless skeletal creatures crawl out of the ground. Engage in fierce battles with these abyssal creatures on the ground. Luo Shang watched all this. Look calm. Dozens of necromancers, under the power of the territory itself. 1 shot is enough to summon a huge skeleton army. And because of the characteristics of the undead. As long as the necromancer has enough mana, he can summon a steady stream of skeleton creatures. Equivalent to an undead army. But these are just appetizers. The interesting ones should be in the future. He noticed that the levels of these abyssal creatures are basically hovering around level 1 to 5 or 6. There is not a single abyssal creature of level 7 or 8 or higher. The announcement said that the tide will erupt in 3 waves. It is very likely that the further back, the higher the level of the abyssal creatures that will appear. As he said that, he glanced at the kill information that kept popping up in the right corner from the corner of his eye. Your unit, Necromancer, killed a level 3 blood demon eater and gained 20 experience points. Your unit, Necromancer, killed a level 3 corpse swallowing beast and gained 20 experience points. The corners of the mouth are slightly raised. This abyss tide may be a catastrophe for others, but for me, this is a good opportunity to gain experience and collect material crystals. His eyes fell on the interface again. Although the overall level of the skeleton creature is lower than most of the abyssal creatures that came to attack, it is because of the continuous resurrection of energy. It can easily kill a high-level abyssal creature. For example, a demon wolf with a very strong physical body that has reached level 5. Under the siege of hundreds of skeleton creatures one after another, his blood volume was slowly consumed until he was forcibly ground to death. And let alone, except for skeleton creatures. Arms such as fallen demons and eternal fallen knights also mixed in the battlefield. Rely on overwhelming rank. Pieces of abyssal creatures were slaughtered like grass. Instantly, the earth can be said to be littered with corpses, and the smell of blood is overwhelming. Just a few minutes after the battle started, the situation has already appeared to be completely crushed. There were less than 3 or 4% of the abyssal creatures that attacked before, but only 3 or 4% survived. And the numbers are still decreasing. About a minute and a half passed. The remaining 30% of the abyssal creatures were also wiped out, leaving only corpses and blood on the ground. Congratulations on your upgrade to level 18. Luo Shang in the hall sits on the throne. Listening to the pleasant mechanical sound, he turned on the Abyss channel. Only over an hour has passed. At this moment, the channel is full of wailing and pleading for help, which can be described as a drastic change in painting style. Oh, God, who can save me? I am now surrounded by dozens of fang-toothed demon wolves in a deep valley. Cry. JPG. Alas, brother upstairs, please ask for blessings. In this situation, it is very difficult for everyone to protect themselves. Who can explain why so many creatures from the abyss come to this place where no birds shit? I beg you, big brothers, is there any territory that can take me in? As long as it can take me in, I'm willing to be a slave and a handmaid. Maid, what happened to those pig-headed men? How did their strength increase so much all of a sudden, even stronger than when the killer activity started? It's over, it's over. The troops in my territory can't beat these abyssal creatures at all, and I'm afraid they will break through the gate of the territory in a short time. Everyone on the channel, there is not much I can do, I can only pray for you. Heshi. JPG. Obviously, this first wave of abyssal tides caused huge damage to most of the reincarnated people in the abyss. Even some reincarnators with territories are also in a critical situation. If it wasn't for my better luck, I was lucky enough to get a special talent and a special reincarnation race. At this moment, I am afraid that I will end up with most of these people. He sighed a little. There was a slight smile in his eyes. But this is life, and it's like this between people. Some people are born standing on high mountains, some people are born in deep pits. He looked at the gains from this battle. The corners of the mouth can't help but curl up. More than 3,000 low-level abyssal souls, and more than 20,000 low-level crystals. And that's not counting the dropped items. The tide of the abyss that many reincarnators fear most. At this moment, it has become a treasure of money in his eyes. Now there are only scattered abyssal creatures attacking here. If we have to wait until the same large area as before, we should wait until the second wave of abyssal tide arrives. Luo Shang said. His thoughtful eyes looked straight to the southeast again. My prepared leeks should not die under the tide so soon. PFF. Ulin couldn't help sneezing. He looked around. What's going on? My reincarnated race is a sky-swallowing feathered beast that can dominate one side. How could it sneeze? He didn't wait for him to think about it. A falcon floated down from a high altitude. Kneeling in front of him, Master, the enemies have all been wiped out. After hearing this, Ulin forgot about the sneeze. He nodded. Just solve it. Are there any casualties? No. These attacking creatures are basically on the ground, and they can't attack us who occupy the high altitude at all. They can only be slaughtered by us. There were no casualties, which made Ulin calm down a lot. Minutes ago, he saw with his own eyes thousands of abyssal creatures running towards him. He was terrified at first, and even once wanted to give up the territory directly. After all, the amount was so large that it made his scalp tingle. Fortunately though, this large number of abyssal creatures finally approached him at a distance of several thousand meters. He suddenly chose to turn his head and head towards the direction of the back mountain. This made him breathe a sigh of relief. Although I don't know why this large wave of abyssal creatures suddenly turned around, it's fine as long as the target is not in their direction. There are still 2 waves left, so we must be extremely vigilant. Yu Lingong said to himself. He noticed an exclamation mark in front of him. He clicks it on. Carters. Brother Yu, are you okay? Seeing the sender, Ulin narrowed his eyes slightly. Carters, why is this guy texting himself for no reason? This person is a member of the Eternal Night Alliance just like himself. Moreover, his status in the Alliance is equivalent to his own, and they are all senior members. It is also because they are members of the Alliance that the other party can send messages to him without going through a friend application. There was a slight pause. Ulin sent back a message. Ulin. Nothing. Carters. It's fine. Chairman Lin just felt that there are a large number of abyssal creatures gathering on your side, Brother Yu, so let me ask about the situation. Ulin. The President and Brother Ka both have hearts. Yu was convinced, there was indeed a large wave of abyssal creatures approaching here just now. However, these abyssal creatures quickly turned their heads and headed in another direction. Carters. Since Brother Yu is fine, it's best of course. By the way, this is what the President asked me to hand over to you. Ulin noticed something sent by the latter. Heart of the Blood Dragon. Level. Low level 6th level. Introduction. A heart full of surging power. Any bird-type abyss creature below level 10, after devouring it, will get a certain level increase. Ulin who saw this thing. First, I was stunned for a while, but when I realized it, I was ecstatic. He needs this thing right now to strengthen the strength of his arms. While feeling excited, Ulin couldn't help being dumbfounded. Blood dragon, I remember that the level of this abyss creature is at least level 8 or even higher. I didn't expect that President Lin Yi could kill such a powerful abyss creature at this moment. Ulin, please Brother Ka, please convey a word to the chairman for me. Ulin will swear to defend the Evernight Alliance to the death and live up to the expectations of the chairman. Carters, okay, it is enough for the president to have you. Soon, Ulin couldn't wait to summon the falcon with the highest initial level. Without hesitation, he gave the blood dragon's heart to the opponent to devour. Roar! The falcon raised its head and let out a clear roar. The sound was torn apart, like rolling thunder. Sure enough, the level has begun to increase. Ulin watched the former's level increase with an excited expression on his face. The initial level of the troops summoned by any territory is between level 5 and level 8. The falcons he summoned were basically all level 5, with the exception of the level 6 in front of him. And the arms want to upgrade the level. In addition to beheading a large number of abyssal creatures, another shortcut is the same as now. Let the troops devour suitable items to increase the level. The falcon level finally rose all the way to the top of the 8th level before stopping. Looking at the falcon with a completely different momentum, Ulin couldn't help but burst out laughing. Level 8 is the highest level of the initial arms, and the strength of today's falcon has definitely doubled. The remaining 2 waves are up to you. Please rest assured, the Great Master, all the enemies who invade will be torn into pieces by me. Ulin nodded, full of confidence. The other side. Luo Shang stood in the midair of the territory. He looks around, thinking about when the second wave of abyssal tide will come. If there are no accidents, when the remaining 2 waves of abyss tides come down, my level should be able to break through to level 20 in one fell swoop. Master, Lilith has something to report. Luo Shang turned his head. Lilith appeared behind. She nodded slightly to Luo Shang first. Then the slender right hand directly grabbed into the space. Under the gaze, Lilith grabbed a strand of soul from it. The face of this soul is obviously a dark goblin. Just when Luo Shang was wondering how Lilith caught the soul of a dark goblin here, that soul opened its mouth and spoke human words. Let me go. The sharp and hoarse speech was especially harsh. Lilith then explained the origin of this guy to Luo Shang. It turned out that this dark goblin was discovered by Lilith in a mountain peak more than 10 miles away. The body and soul of this ant have been protected by some kind of magic, so they are immune to the influence of the tide of the abyss. Luo Shang just lowered his head. The goblin soul uttered that very awkward human language again. Stupid, outsiders. You will regret it. Voko is the messenger of the kingdom of Gus. Kill me. You will face the endless wrath of the kingdom of Gus. Goblin finished. It was found that the other party not only did not show the slightest panic. Instead, he showed a pair of expressions with a trace of playful smile. Luo Shang looked at this soul. My mind is full of thoughts. Kingdom of Gus. Sounds like a lot of power. But one thing is clear now. This dark goblin is not from an ordinary tribe. And Luo Shang didn't bother to interrogate him. Directly let Lilith forcibly deprive the memory of this soul. After a burst of mournful howling. My lord, I found it. This kingdom of Gus is located in the inner region of the abyss first floor. It is one of the 6 dark goblin kingdoms on the first floor of the abyss. It is a long distance from here. This messenger came here through the teleportation stone gate, and Lilith told Luo Shang everything she got from the memory of the other party. Luo Shang pondered for a while. There is a lot of information brought by this messenger from the kingdom of Guts. Let him have some more concepts about this ignorant abyss. As for why this messenger came all the way here, there are several other dark goblin tribes that have not been wiped out. Everyone noticed that someone was targeting them. So they urgently asked for help from their superiors, the kingdom of Gus. And the 15th level messenger sent by the kingdom of Gus has just arrived here not long ago. It was discovered by Lilith, and she was killed directly, destroying the body, leaving only the soul. Luo Shang glanced at the goblin soul whose mind had been annihilated. Since it's useless, let's kill it. Yes, Lilith, who received the order, did not pause at all. Palm and 5 fingers move. The soul suddenly burst open and turned into nothingness. Then Lilith will leave first. Lilith said softly. Okay. Watching Lilith disappear, Luo Shang looked into a void, and said calmly, is it the kingdom of Gus? Anyway, territorial expansion is a matter of time, and I don't mind adding an enemy right now. The next day, although there are a steady stream of abyssal creatures appearing around the territory, they are far from the scale and number when the first wave first appeared. These scattered abyssal creatures just approached within a certain range. Surrounded by countless skeleton creatures climbing out of the ground, they surrounded and killed them. The other arms don't even have to move. Cleaning up the mess is all done by these skeleton creatures. Under the blessing of the powerful buff of the territory, necromancers can be said to have unlimited magic power, and there is no need to worry about the reason for the lack of magic power due to excessive summoning. Luo Shang sat on the throne. As always, he cleaned up the relatively cheap low-level abyssal souls on the exchange, and bought some things that were useful to him. In the Wanji channel, I'm going, the holy man is starting to clean up the exchange again. It's cool to be rich. I saw a set of low-level abyssal soul 999 feet with my own eyes, priced at 1,900 low-level crystals, and I gave it to the boss directly without hesitation. Grass. I saw it too, and I also saw that the big brother was still there for several seconds in a row. This is too rich. Hee, people sell so many cut leaks at a high price, can they not have a lot of money? Seeing this, one person couldn't help mocking. Soon there will be thousands of messages for him. Sour grapes. People have this strength, can't they sell more expensive? That is, the items sold by the holy boss are all monster drops that even the top reincarnators can't beat. They risk their lives to sell things. Is it wrong to sell them more expensive? The two sides of the channel actually started a scolding war around Luo Shang. If Luo Shang saw this, he would definitely be dumbfounded. After cleaning the exchange, Luo Shang opened the personal interface. Let's improve all advanced skills first. Yes, no consumption of low-level spar *1000 and low-level abyssal soul *50 to raise the King's Landing to the 7th level. Yes, congratulations on upgrading your skill, King's Landing, to the 7th level. He raised all 6 advanced skills to the 7th advanced level. Opening square bracket exclamation mark. Information. Oh, this is from that conquest. Luo Shang turned on the exclamation mark and found that the source of this information turned out to be Conquer. Conquer. Your Excellency, where are you? Conquer. I heard that a huge abyss tide broke out in the abyss recently. Conquer. I want your Excellency to help me collect a drop called Thunder Roar Claw. After that, I can buy it with you with 10,000 low-level crystals. 10,000 low-level crystals, this conquest is quite rich. Luo Shang raised his eyebrows slightly. He hasn't replied yet, and the conquest sent several messages one after another. It seems that this so-called Thunderclaw is very important to it. Conquer. This Thunder Roar Claw comes from an abyssal creature called the Demon Thunder Lion. Its level is around 10th level. I don't know what you think. Sighed. Conquering a heavy face, he looked at Luo Shang who hadn't responded from the interface. Bad mood. According to the information he got from the abyss, the level of the magic Thunder Lion is basically at level 10 or even higher. None of the reincarnators he could find could defeat this abyssal monster. So it seems to him. Only Luo Shang, the unfathomable leader of the list, has the strength to kill the Demon Thunder Lion. If this saint refuses, I can only find another way. If it weren't for the urgent need for this item, he would never have lost his face, approached Luo Shang and offered a sky-high price of 10,000 low-grade crystals. After all, Thunder Roar Claw is only an intermediate item. 10,000 pieces of low-grade spar are like buying copper plates with gold. But Conquest is very clear. If you want this, holy, to help you collect it, you must show enough benefits. After waiting for a few minutes, he finally waited for Luo Shang's reply. Holy, yes. Conquer's eyes widened, and he exhaled softly, just agree. A mid-level item is exchanged for 10,000 low-level crystals, even this saint will inevitably be tempted. When he was just about to close the chat interface, the disciple sent a message. Disciple, I just got the information that the magic Thunder Lion is a group creature. The conquest is unknown, so I can't help but reply. Conquer. What does that matter? Disciple. Once someone kills a magic Thunder Lion, the nearby Magic Thunder Lion group will follow the scent, track down the killer and take revenge. Disciple. Did the saint agree to you? Conquer. He agreed. After all, this is 10,000 low-level crystals. Conquer sent this sentence. Seems to think of something. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise. That saint probably doesn't know that the Magic Thunder Lion has this characteristic. If the Magic Thunder Lion group can kill him, it would be great news. At the same time, Abyss. Luo Shang looked calm, and he closed the chat interface. Although I don't know how true or false the words of conquest are. But 10,000 low-level crystals, he naturally wouldn't want it. Thunderclaw. Let's come back after solving the remaining 2 waves of abyssal tides. An hour passed. The second wave of abyssal tide arrived as promised. The ground on the first floor of the abyss shook slightly. A wave of dire wolves that were several times more ferocious than the previous one swept up. Roar. Countless loud roars resounded through the sky. The second wave is finally here. Luo Shang smiled slightly. Under view. Abyssal creatures came from all directions, heading towards the territory. Sure enough, as I expected, this abyss tide is getting more and more fierce. The abyssal creature that appeared this time. Although it is not as large as the first wave in terms of scale and quantity, high-level abyssal creatures account for the vast majority. I don't know if this second wave of experience will allow me to advance to a level. The horn of battle is on the verge of firing. Several huge 7th-level dragon lizards took the lead to open the way. It rushed towards the front of the territory. Under the trample of this powerful force, countless skeleton creatures turned into broken bones, as if no one could stop them. Blood-drawing blade. From the territory, 2 flywheels flew out. The flywheel was as fast as lightning, it sliced through the air, and slashed towards the rushing dragon. The dragon lizard naturally noticed the approaching danger. The triangular bone plate on the back began to gather electric ons. Wow! The 3 dragons opened their mouths together and shot out a powerful lightning chain. Bang! But the result was unexpected. The 3 lightning chains were easily cut open by the flywheel. The seemingly domineering lightning shattered into countless points of arc light and dispersed. Shish! Fleeting. The 2 7th-level dragon lizards were instantly split in half by the flywheel. The blood is like spring water gushing out from the veins of the earth, and sprinkles to the earth. The other dragon lizard hadn't had time to react yet. In an instant, the flywheels of the 2 dragon lizards dropped, and they came spinning like darts. The flywheel split the dragon lizard from behind. This process took less than half a minute, and all the 3-headed dragon lizards were killed. The flywheel spun and flew straight back to the territory. In the territory, 2 thick arms covered with lush hair easily hold the 2 flywheels. Yes, the smell of blood. The shadow hunter picked up the blood-stained half-moon knife with his right hand, and licked it lightly with his tongue. Those eyes full of hunting desire were full of bloodthirsty at this moment. The death of the dragon lizard was just the beginning. Although this second wave is significantly stronger than the first wave of abyssal tide. But the strength gap between Nahi and Eternal Fallen territory is too great. Within a minute, the abyssal creatures that originally belonged to the attacker suddenly became the defender. The center of the battlefield. An army of knights composed of 10 eternally fallen knights crazily slaughtered all creatures around them. One after another, the abyssal creatures fell on the pool of blood, and the eternal fallen knight seemed to be in the land of no one. The powerful eternal fallen knight seems to be able to sweep away the abyssal creatures on this land with his own power. As for the abyssal creatures flying in the sky, then it was all handed over to Lilith. Mid-air, Lilith spread out her fallen angel wings. Her winking eyes, which can stir the heartstrings of countless beings, are as cold as an unsheathed blade at this moment. A group of minced meat dare to stand in the same airspace as the Lord. Lilith opened her right palm. A hazy and illusory black ball appeared. After a while, there was a crash. From the black ball, thousands of black lights suddenly shot out. Black light shot at the flying abyssal creatures that filled the sky. PFF'd. The light is like a laser, it can easily penetrate the flesh. In just a moment, corpses fell from the sky, like raindrops. In just a few seconds, all the flying abyssal creatures were dealt with by Lilith. Standing behind, watching all this Luo Shang, I couldn't help admiring in my heart, it is indeed a legendary hero unit. Now even if all the arms in the territory add up, it should not be Lilith's opponent alone. And this is only the initial stage of Lilith. Luo Shang was looking forward to how strong Lilith would be when she returned to the final stage. He looks towards the battlefield. In this second wave of the Abyss Tide, the balance of victory has completely tilted to his side. The Fallen and the Eternal Fallen Knight, like a lawn mower, harvested the lives of creatures from the Abyss one after another. Flesh and blood flew everywhere, and the stench rose to the sky. The Tide of the Abyss, feared by countless reincarnations, appears extremely weak in front of Luo Shang's absolute strength. About 5 or 6 minutes. The abyssal creatures were basically slaughtered, leaving only a few here and there. Congratulations on your promotion to level 19. It's still one level short, and we can reach level 20. Now there is still the last wave of Abyssal Tide, which is the third wave. I just don't know when the third wave of the Abyssal Tide will come. Luo Shang just pondered for a moment. Master. What is it? Luo Shang turned to look at Lilith. Lilith just sensed that someone was trying to use abyss magic to track our location. Luo Shang raised his eyebrows and said, "Can you find out who did it?" Lilith nodded, with a hint of enchantment on her beautiful face. That aura of abyssal magic is very similar to the messenger of the kingdom of Gus that I captured before, and it seems to be from the kingdom of Gus. Say it. Lilith raised her head slightly. She smiled charmingly, but please rest assured, my lord. Before the opponent's magic could be locked, it was cut off by Lilith. Hear this sentence. Luo Shang's heart was turbulent just now, but he quickly calmed down again. He smiled with satisfaction. Good job. My lord, I'm so honored. It's Lilith's duty to protect the territory and your safety. After explaining a few more words to Lilith, Luo Shang returned to the Eternal Castle. He sits on the throne with his chin resting on his right hand. Look at the information on the Abyss channel. Although these two waves of Abyss Tides are extremely dangerous to most reincarnators, they also bring many opportunities. Many people in the Abyss have been raised several levels by virtue of the tide. As soon as he opened the first page of the exchange, he saw a lot of pig-headed sticks and many other Abyss objects. It can be seen that the impact of this Abyssal Tide is not all negative. Certainly, reincarnators who can upgrade through tides are basically not low in level. And today, the reincarnation in this abyss. There are quite a few people who are level 1 to 2. It is no exaggeration to say that in this abyssal tide, most of the people eliminated are extremely low level. One layer of the abyss. Inland area. Inside a magnificent kingdom that looks like a border fortress. In a magnificent palace. How about finding out where the murderer is? Deep in the palace, on a golden chair, sitting an imposing dark goblin. This dark goblin is wearing gold and silver armor, with a trident crown on his head. He looked dignified, and every word that came out of his mouth seemed to be pressed down by a boulder. Oppression filled this palace up and down. In front of this dark goblin king, there were hundreds of dark goblins kneeling down. These goblins are basically all over level 20. Countless breaths fell on the words of the Lord of the Kingdom of Gus. Right, a dark goblin high priest in witch robes stood up. Great Your Majesty, this subordinate just cast a shaman spell to track down the real murderer. Unexpectedly, the murderer was so powerful that he not only sensed the spell, but also completely cut off the tracking of the spell. What kind of guy can even cut off the shaman spell of the high priest? The Goblin King's voice was thick, like the beating of a big drum. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes. As the high priest of the Tagus Kingdom, the dark goblin with the highest spell attainment, even the high priests of the other 5 dark goblin kingdoms cannot compare with him. Unexpectedly, the real culprit could not be traced. The high priest just finished speaking. The back foot continued. Nowadays, a large number of outsiders have come to the abyss, and the subordinates speculate that the death of the messenger is very likely to be done by outsiders. The king of goblins listened, and felt that it was reasonable to do so. After all, the edge of Outland. There are very few powerful abyssal creatures, let alone discover the high priest's tracking spell and cut it off. No matter how you think about it, there is a great possibility that outsiders will do it. These outsiders, this king will let them know what will happen if they are stained with the blood of my family. Goblin King Senan said. It just so happens that the Red Devil Kingdom and other countries have also contacted this king one after another to discuss the matter of dealing with outsiders. Now it seems that it is really urgent to kill these abominable outsiders. Say it. The Goblin King stood up from his chair. The glory of the Dark Goblin must be defended with blood. Let us teach these outsiders what death is. His thick right arm is raised high, and his voice is loud. Words can be described as extremely passionate. Defend the glory of the Dark Goblin Yi clan. Kill all the outsiders. Defend the glory of the Dark Goblin Yi clan. Kill all the outsiders. All the goblins at the scene stood up one after another, shouting loudly. Now all the reincarnated in the abyss don't know. Soon, a battle between goblins and reincarnators is coming. Forever Land. Luo Shang opened a panel. He calmly said, "It is still 6 levels away before we can officially upgrade the territory level. As for the bloodline, if you want to unlock it again, you need to reach level 25. Although the current level is still far from the target level. But this is only half a month, or even a month. When the power of these 18 winged fallen angels is fully unlocked, I should be able to reach the level explained in this mural." Luo Shang looked up. He was looking forward to what it would be like to have the supreme power to dominate the world of the heavens one day. There is no shortage of arms now, and the remaining resources will be reserved for the new arms at that time. Luo Shang said lightly, "Now everything is waiting for the arrival of the third wave of abyssal tide. Time flies until the second day. The third wave of abyssal tide officially broke out. For a moment, the entire sky of the abyss layer was spread and covered by black mist visible to the naked eye. Over the fort of eternity, Luo Shang was suspended. He watched the last wave of the abyss tide calmly. The number of this third wave of troops obviously exceeded that of the second wave. Although it is still not as huge as the first wave, the overall strength level is definitely the highest among these 3 waves. Because Luo Shang finally saw abyssal creatures above level 10 in it. They were crazy, roaring, and approached the territory with their heads that destroyed everything. This time, leave it to me to solve it myself, you don't have to take action. The corner of Luo Shang's mouth hooked slightly, and he sent a message to all arms. Obey, my highest lord. He gathered the abyssal creatures from all sides around him within his field of vision. Exercise your muscles a little. With a movement of his body, he came directly to the center of the battlefield. Immediately afterwards, it fell down. Boom. The earth shook, and a deep pit was sunken where Luo Shang fell. Roar. Luo Shang's swaggering behavior naturally attracted the attention and hatred of all abyssal creatures. The abyssal creature roared angrily, making an unstoppable roar. It seems that the blue sky, white clouds and the earth are to be torn apart. Instantly, all creatures came to kill Luo Shang. King's Landing. The smoke and dust have not dispersed. The absolute suppression from the bloodline instantly fell on all the creatures of the abyss. Woo! With countless mournful cries, all the abyssal creatures in the sky fell straight to the sky and the earth because of this oppressive force. Luo Shang then summoned the Sword of Desire, and killed the surrounding beasts. Each sword is as fast as a shadow, it is difficult to see clearly. The only thing that can be seen is that after each sword goes down, the messy corpses and flesh and blood flying around are really jaw-dropping. It's no fun for Junline to hold it down all the time, so just put it away. The corners of Luo Shang's mouth curled up, his pretty face full of evil spirits. Those deep purple pupils reflected his love for killing at this moment. With the collection of King's Landing skills, PFF'd. Luo Shang's right side, dozens of orcs were directly smashed into meat paste by a sudden big claw. He saw a gigantic lion that was as big as a dragon in the clan rushing to his side. This giant lion has purple hair all over its body, and a pair of dark purple wings growing on its back. Those bloody lion eyes were full of hostility towards Luo Shang. Then the left paw swung loudly. Bang! It's a pity that this thunderous blow did not hit Luo Shang and attack to a layer of energy barrier generated around him. Luo Shang glanced at the giant beast from the corner of his eye. Magic Thunder Lion. Level 11. Faction Chaotic Evil. Skills: Violent Thunder, lower level 9, Thunderstorm, intermediate level 1, Lion Roar, lower level 8. Introduction. The natural alien demon Thunder Lion of the Abyss Lion clan has an extremely violent temper and loves to kill. After killing, there is a chance to get middle and low level items, rich claws, rich blood, low level abyssal souls, etc. Magic Thunder Lion, it doesn't take much effort to get it. Eating souls. Luo Shang said 2 words lightly. In the end, the magic thunder lion didn't even have time to react. It was just the moment when Luo Shang's eyes met, he was directly locked by the devouring spirit, and forcibly absorbed the power of the soul. The power of the blue soul floated out from the eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Mo Leishi was extremely rebellious in his heart. But he soon discovered that he had no ability to resist at all in front of the creature in front of him. The body is completely stiff, and he can only let the other party absorb his own soul power. While Luo Shang was absorbing the soul power of the demon thunder lion, the sword of desire in his hand did not stop at all. All the creatures of the abyss that approached him were chopped off by a single sword. The blood quickly accumulated into a pool, as if it was about to evolve into a real, blood sea. It's worthy of being the master. The level is only 19, and he has such strength. While watching, Lilith couldn't help sticking out her tongue and licking her lips. This power is exactly what she has always wanted to follow. In the eyes of outsiders, these countless abyssal creatures rushed towards a meat grinder like crazy, and then were crushed by the meat grinder without leaving any bones. At the same time, not far away, swallowing the heart of the blood dragon, Falcon's strength has indeed undergone a qualitative change. Ulin stood on the watchtower, watching the battle at the border of the territory. His face was full of joy. Even the third wave of abyssal tide is useless to him. These abyssal creatures rushing up blindly are like fools giving experience. Besieged and annihilated by his falcons. This third wave, I'm afraid I will be able to rise to another level soon. Watched the battle for a while. Ulin couldn't help turning around. Binocular sight looked at the sky behind. The smile on his face before began to subside, and his tone was slightly concentrated. Just now there was an extremely terrifying force coming from over there. What exactly is that? In fact, since his first wave of abyss tide yesterday, he felt something was wrong. Such a large number of abyssal creatures are all moving in one direction. The only ones who can attract creatures from the abyss are reincarnated. He couldn't help but think of a sentence written in the system's abyss bulletin. The higher the level, the more abyssal creatures will be attracted. But this number is too exaggerated. Ulin's expression turned ugly. Even the leader Lin Yi can't attract so many creatures from the abyss. Attracting so many monsters at one time, even if you look at the previous leaderboard of killers. Except for a holy, in the top 10, no one should be able to do it now. Wait, holy. Ulin's eyes gradually showed a look of deep thought and fear. But after a few seconds of pause, Ulin shook his head. Laughing dumbfounded, no, even that so-called saint is absolutely impossible. His gaze lifted again. Even though the monstrous power erupting from tens of thousands of meters away is powerful, it is absolutely impossible to be him. After all, Falcon himself told him yesterday that that power was already approaching the 20th level. How could that saint have level 20? What the hell happened in that direction? 0 inches. Ulin thought secretly, although he wanted to take a look urgently in his heart. But Ulin's desire to live still overwhelmed the curiosity of sending Falcon to find out. The falcon that died silently before is a lesson from the past. If another unit is killed this time, he will definitely feel extremely heartbroken. The top priority right now is to improve your level first, and for other things, we will check later. Ulin turned his head. His eyes fell on the falcon who was fighting fiercely with the creatures of the abyss again. After a while, I will be able to upgrade the territory to the 2nd level. I don't know what new arms will be unlocked by then. Return to the land of eternal fall. Exist. The area around the territory at this moment can be said to be a scene of hell, like a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Mid-air, the 2 pairs of fallen angel wings flapped high behind Luo Shang. In his left hand he holds the sword of desire. Her hair fluttered, and her purple pupils looked extremely frightening under the light of the blood. The pleasure of fresh blood is so cool. The corners of Luo Shang's mouth curled up, revealing a wicked smile. This kind of pleasure is really unprecedented, making the blood in all the limbs and bones in his body continuously boil. Kill, destroy. Luo Shang knew in his heart that this was the instinct brought to him by the blood of the fallen angels. Boom! There was a loud roar that pierced the ears. A 10th level abyss worm suddenly drilled out of the ground tens of meters behind Luo Shang. The worm's bloody mouth opened to the extreme, trying to swallow Luo Shang from behind. Wow! Dozens of swords of desire flying out of space cracks suddenly flew into the abyss worm. It directly turned the abyss worm into a hornet's nest in midair. The 4,000th, Luo Shang turned around slowly. His cold eyes fell on the hideous monster's face. The sword in his hand slashed out, split the abyss worm that has been nestled into two halves with a sword. It was also after Luo Shang killed him. You killed a level 10 abyssal worm and gained 250 experience points. Congratulations on reaching level 20. Finally reached level 20, much faster than expected. Luo Shang smiled. Now there are still 5 levels left, and the territory can be upgraded to the 3rd level. He is really looking forward to what new arms and buildings will appear when the territory reaches the 3rd tier. Recover your magic power a little bit. Luo Shang lowered his head. Looking down at the corpses strewn all over the field below, he used Spirit Devouring. Although these are already corpses, because they have just died, their souls have not yet dissipated. Devouring one use. Soon, dozens of powerful souls were extracted by Luo Shang. These souls turned into energy and finally entered his body. The mana that Luo Shang had just consumed returned to its peak state in an instant. This is the power of Soul Devourer. Even if all the magic power in his body is exhausted, as long as there are enough souls around, he can rely on the power of devouring souls to quickly restore the empty magic power to its peak. The rest, and the collection of the corpses, will be left to you. 0.0. Luo Shang spoke to the Eternal Fallen Knight and other units. Follow orders. Luo Shang just wanted to return to the Fort of Eternity. Oh, that's. He turned his head, looking south several kilometers away. Dozens of lightning-like figures of blue light are rapidly approaching their territory. After a few careful glances, Luo Shang finally saw what these blue light figures were. There are so many demon thunder lions, some of them even reached level 15. Is it also affected by the tide of the abyss? As soon as Luo Shang said to himself, he couldn't help frowning. No, didn't the abyss announcement say that level 15 abyssal creatures would not be affected by the tide? Right now it's, great my lord, the abyssal creature like the demon thunder lion is a bit special. Once a member of its group is killed, the rest of the group will follow the breath to trace the corpse, looking for the murderer. Hand and revenge. Quote, the calm voice of the necromancer reached Luo Shang's ears. Is that so? Luo Shang suddenly realized something. The feeling is that I killed the magic thunder lion before, and the rest of the tribe followed the breath to find this place to take revenge. It's no wonder that the herd of demon thunder lions doesn't seem to be affected by the tide of the abyss. My lord. At this time, Lilith's soft voice came. Luo Shang asked calmly, what's the matter? Can the rest of these guys be handed over to Lilith? The souls of these guys are a little bit useful to Lilith, and should be able to restore my level by 1 or 2 levels. Seeing that Lilith's level was about to break through, Luo Shang's eyes sparkled. For a legendary hero unit like Lilith, the energy needed to level up each level far exceeds itself. This is also the reason why Lilith hasn't done this so far, killing so many creatures without leveling up. I didn't expect that the level would finally be raised now. Okay, then I will leave these magic thunder lions to you. Without the slightest hesitation, Luo Shang nodded and handed over the group of demon thunder lions to her. Lilith Chesia, thank the Lord for the reward. Lilith's Mayan was full of gratitude to Luo Shang, the Lord of the Abyss. Also after Luo Shang returned to the Eternal Castle, Lilith turned her head and looked at the group of demons. In order to live up to the kindness of the Lord, let's make a little effort. The corners of Lilith's mouth curled up. She flicked her right arm. The palm poked into the space. I see. A blood-red sword was slowly drawn out. The body of the sword is 1.6 meters long, with the appearance of fallen angels engraved on both sides. And the hilt of the sword. On the other hand, there are strange black thorns wrapped around it. The sword of greed, I haven't used it for a long time. Sealed for so many years, you must be hungry and thirsty. Lilith's charming eyes were full of blood, as if a river of blood was flowing in them. Fortress of Eternity. Luo Shang sat upright. He looked at the greedy sword in Lilith's hand with interest. This weapon is at least legendary. It is indeed a legendary hero unit, and the weapon level is not low. There was a gleam of joy in his heart. The stronger Lilith is, the more help he will have in the future. Mid-air, Lilith spread her 6 wings high, and the sword of the Capital Committee in her hand was facing TNMI. Swallow it to your heart's content. Wow, where the hilt of the greedy sword is, it first burst out with extreme blood. Immediately afterwards, a terrifying and ferocious demon eye opened. This demon eye appears to be alive. Pupils move. Immediately, that icy and piercing gaze swept to the group of demon thunder lions not far away. *%@*. The incomprehensible ravings first came from the magic eye. Then, swipe. The countless thorns wrapped around the hilt of the sword suddenly loosened, and then 10 rushed out as if turning into rainbow light. The target is directed at the magic thunder lion. Among lions, leading the highest level demon thunder lion, he also felt the danger approaching. The lion's head was raised high, and it let out a high-pitched roar. Roar. The other demon thunder lions around saw this and followed suit. Look up and growl. This loud and clear roar roared back to the sky, as if it was about to shatter the sky. Dazzling thunderbolts danced. In just a few seconds, the land around the lion group was turned into a sea of thunder. Above the pride of lions, a thunder ball that gathers the power of all the magic thunder lions slowly appears, and the power of destruction is constantly brewing. This blazing brilliance seems to be able to destroy everything within a 10-mile radius. Call out. The thunderball finally shot out. There was a deafening explosion in the sky. Boom. The moment the thunderball collided with the thorns, countless thunderbolts shot out. However, this seemingly fierce and brutal thunder and lightning could not destroy these black thorns. The thorns are as solid as a rock, and the thunder and lightning from dozens of demon thunder lions can't hurt it in the slightest. Thorn broke through the thunderball and rushed towards Fukyun. The leader of the 15th level demon thunder lion opened its mouth and spewed out a beam of thunder. It's a pity that this beam of thunder was also blocked by thorns. Less than a few breaths. Dozens of demon thunder lions were directly pierced through the heart by this ferocious thorn. Stand in midair. Lilith remained motionless from beginning to end, watching the sword of greed quickly kill these magic thunder lions. He said coldly, "Let's begin." The thorns extending from the sword of greed, after piercing the heart of each demon thunder lion, start to extract the soul power of these magic thunder lions. The thorns kept beating and absorbing, like a heart. While the sword of greed continued to devour soul power, the aura of Lilith's whole body was also growing rapidly at an astonishing speed. After the sword of greed devours the soul power, it will compress these powers, and then transfer them to Lilith's original body. Legendary weapons are really not easy. Luo Shang watched all this from the beginning to the end. The power of the thunder ball released by the demon thunder lions just now has approached to the 18th and 19th level. But such a powerful force appears extremely weak under the sword of greed. I thought this battle would last at least 2 or 3 minutes. Unexpectedly, it ended in less than a minute after the beginning. Moreover, Lilith did nothing from beginning to end. It is entirely the sword of greed that moves by itself. Lilith's true strength is probably comparable to that of abyssal creatures of level 25, 6, or even level 30. Another day passed. The abyss tide, which lasted for 2 days, also came to an end. The abyss channel is full of joy and excitement about surviving. I thought I would not survive this day, thank God for blessing me. Oh, don't thank yourself for your life, thank God. God will die if he comes here today. Stop making noise, just survive. To be honest, this abyssal tide is actually a big opportunity. I have been promoted to 2 levels by relying on these 3 waves. Boss upstairs. I met so many monsters and kept running. Hee. Before the tide came, I dug a huge deep pit under a big tree in advance. These abyssal creatures have no IQ. If you seduce me, they all fall into the pit. Then put a few skills to bring it all together. Why can't I think of such a good way? Luo Shang swiped a few times, but there was no useful news. Preparing to close the chat interface. Out of the corner of his eye he caught a glimpse of a new message. Everyone, be careful, I got news that the Dark Goblin Kingdom on the 1st floor of the Abyss has suddenly started attacking us reincarnated people. Many reincarnators have been killed. You must be careful of places with dark goblins. Dark Goblin Kingdom. What the hell is that? Brother upstairs, your location should be on the edge of the outer domain, I don't even know. Ahem, let me explain. This Dark Goblin Kingdom represents all the dark goblins in the entire abyss, 10 very powerful history in the 10 miles of the abyss. And there are 6 goblin kingdoms in total, and as far as I know, there should be strong people with levels as high as 30 in these 6 goblin kingdoms. 30 level. So scary. How did this happen? Why is it so good? This dark goblin kingdom suddenly started to attack us. After receiving the information under his eyes, Luo Shang narrowed his eyes slightly. Has it already started? The action is quite fast. Why did the dark goblin kingdom suddenly make such a move? In fact, he had guessed it in his heart. 80% of it was caused by the messenger from Gus Kingdom being killed. As for why he didn't seek revenge on himself, but aimed the blade at all the reincarnated people, it is clear. It was because Lilith cut off her tracking spell before. As a result, the kingdom of Gus could not find his exact location. Kingdom of Gus will do something, it was already expected. However, the only unexpected thing is that the kingdom of Guts would persuade the other 5 goblin kingdoms to do the same. The strength of the Dark Goblin Kingdom is crushing for any reincarnator in the early stage. Even for him now, it is very difficult to match up. But, now I have other reincarnations helping me distract the Goblin Kingdom. No matter how angry the Kingdom of Gus is at the moment, they can only look for the real culprit one by one like now. You can take this opportunity to develop for a while. With his current upgrade speed, it will be a matter of time before this Kingdom of Gus and even other Dark Goblin Kingdoms are destroyed. Correct. The Thunder Roar Claw has also been collected, so it's time to tell that conqueror. Luo Shang recalled the conquest, and just said to himself. I saw an exclamation point jump out. Opening square bracket exclamation mark closing square bracket. Open it and have a look. I found that this message happened to be sent by Conquer. Conquer, Your Excellency, how are you doing? It really means that Cao Cao is here. Luo Shang chuckled and replied immediately. Holy, it has been collected. Accompanied by the issuance of this reply. Conquest at the other end. The expression on his face changed dramatically. Have you got it? Hasn't this saint been attacked by the lions? Or the lions haven't found him yet? He couldn't help muttering to himself. After pondering for a while, Conquer shook his head again. Forget it, the most urgent thing is to get the Thunder Roar Claw to upgrade first. Conquer. Good. Then trade it. As soon as this sentence was sent, Conquer noticed that Luo Shang immediately returned a message. Holy, but now we need 20,000 low-level crystals. Take a closer look. Conquer's expression gradually turned ugly, and he frowned and said, What? 20,000 low-level crystals? Holy, is this going to raise the price? Suppressing the swollen anger in his heart, Conquer continued to speak. Conquer. What do you mean, Your Excellency? This is different from what we talked about before. Holy, the 10,000 low-level crystals are not directly proportional to the risks I encounter, so naturally I have to increase them. Conquest. What does it mean? Holy, not long after I killed a demon thunder lion yesterday, I was attacked by a group of demon thunder lions. You never said that the tribe of the Morel lion has information that will help the tribe to avenge it. See this message. Conquer suddenly had a pimple in his heart. Demon thunder lions, this saint really encountered. But right now the other party is obviously fine, that is to say. Even the demon thunder lions are not the opponent of this saint. Conqueror gasped. According to the information he got, even the current self plus the territory is not an opponent of a group of demon thunder lions. Conquer with an uncertain look in his eyes, and then continued to send messages. Conquer. Your Excellency, I don't know anything about this demon thunder lion. I didn't know there was such special information. Is it normal? Conquer. The transaction is about equality. Since this was agreed before, Your Excellency has changed his mind now, which is too dishonorable. Abyss. Luo Shang saw this. Disdainful smile. Playing this game with me. Ridiculous. He couldn't believe that the other party was really ignorant. Holy, to trade or not to trade is up to you. Anyway, he is not short of 20,000 low-level crystals, and if he does not agree, he will not agree. He had nothing to lose anyway. With Saint this message sent. The other side conquers the moment. There was silence. Fattest continent. I really don't let go at all. Crack. A golden cup held by Conqueror's right hand shattered, and his face was gloomy. Staring at the chat interface. I didn't expect this saint to be so tough. But Thunder Roar Claw is what he needs most now. If he gives up, The loss is far more serious than the 20,000 low-level crystals. After about a few minutes, Conquer sent another message. Conquer, Your Excellency, I don't have so many crystals now. How about 12,000? This is the largest amount I can take out now. After the message was sent, a minute passed. Seeing that the saint has not responded for a long time, Conquer gritted his teeth. Conquer, I have a map of the buried treasures of the abyss here, which can be used as a substitute for the Ode Spar. Screenshot of item information.jpg. Treasure map. Luo Shang raised his eyebrows, and opened the screenshot of the so-called treasure item. Treasure map of the undead. Level. Special. Introduction. An undead from the upper layers of the abyss left a treasure on the first floor. This map will lead you to find the place where the treasure is buried. This is. Luo Shang's eyes lit up. He decisively took out the undead key he had obtained from Chen Fangu earlier. Looked at the profile. This thing is indeed the treasure burial map referred to by the key of the undead. The corner of his mouth couldn't help but curl up. It's true. It's God helping me. Without further ado, Luo Shang agreed to the terms of the conquest. 12 low-level crystals, plus this treasure map. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. The two quickly traded. You have obtained the low-level spar *12000 from the reincarnated, Conquer, and the treasure map of the undead *1. After getting it, Luo Shang took out the map. The map is an old, khaki-colored piece of paper. Land, hills and other scenery are drawn on the paper, and the words of the undead are written on it. Although I don't know how this conquest got this thing in Fatus continent, but this treasure map is already in my hands. The treasure of the undead, what kind of good thing will it be? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.